Alright, Game Bears, it is time for a new tier list, and today we have the Generation 9 Pokemon tier list of every Pokemon from the base game, the Kitakami update, as well as the Indigo Disc update, or Teal Mask update for that first one. So, before we begin with this, I'd like to say thank you everybody for helping me reach 750 subscribers, and here's for our new tier list when we hit 800 subscribers. So, let us begin, and before we also begin as well, let's set out some ground rules first. I am ranking these Pokemon based on my personal opinion for them, based on their battle prowess, their design, their color scheme, lore perhaps, if they have any lore, etc., etc. Maybe evolution method might have something to do with that as well. And also, the closer they are to the tier list from S, A, B, C, D, E, and F tier, the stronger my opinion of them are in said tier, or the more I kind of like them. So, the lower down the tier they are, the less I like them in said tier. Let's just say. And there's no Mega Evolutions there's no Mega Evolutions in this tier list, so just normally, since those are guys who are going to get a separate list, I wouldn't rank them, and that goes the same for regional variants, like the Tauros ones over here. However, Convergent forms, I'm going to count them as not regional forms, and we're going to rank those guys anyways. And again, with the regional forms, they're getting their own separate little list, so we'll rank them there in a future tier list video. Anyways, with that being said, without further ado, let us begin, and today we're going to start off with the Weed Cat, the Sprigatito. Alright, A tier for this thing. It's freaking adorable. I love this thing a lot. Whenever I do finally do a Pokemon Scarlet and Violet Nuzlocke, this is going to be my choice instead of Fuecoco, which is what I went for in my first playthrough when this game came out over 2 years ago. Ferragato, S tier instantly. This guy's the straight up Puss in Boots of the Pokemon world, and I fucking love that. Along with Dewott and like Porygon 2, one of my favorite middle stage Pokemon of any evolution line. Meowscarada, S tier. A lot of people seem to really dislike Meowscarada, but I think this thing's fucking awesome. Other than it being probably a small Persona reference, a small one. This thing is so good in battle. It hits hard, it's fast, it's got plenty of utility moves. It's got one of the most busted abilities, at least when it was busted, Protean. Neat design. Sure, it wasn't quadruped like everybody wanted it to be, but nah, it doesn't. I'm gonna get some flack for this, but it didn't need it. I'm gonna be honest now. Anyways, the entire Fuecoco line, straight to S tier as well. I love these guys. Or maybe I'll put Fuecoco slightly above Crocalor. But Fuecoco, I like how it's literally a crocodile fire pepper, or hot pepper, and you know me, I love spicy things. But, and its face also kind of resembles like a Day of the Dead skull, and I think that's really cool. Crocalor, okay, its name is freaking awesome, one of the best middle stage evolution names right there. I like how its little hat is a bit of a sombrero and egg in it, which later hatches into the little firebird we see on Skeledirge over here. And I like how that's slightly based on Skeledirge's, not just Skeledirge, but crocodile and bird symbiosis, where the bird gets a nice little ride on the crocodile, and some free meals off of the crocodile's teeth. While the crocodile itself, hey, its teeth get clean thanks to the bird. Nice little symbiosis there, just woven into its design. Super good in battle. Fire Ghost is a killer type combo. Torch Song is one of the most busted signature moves ever. This thing is tanky, doesn't die very easily. Skeledirge is fucking awesome, dude. Quaxley. A tier. Love its design. It's not a flying type, though. It makes sense why it's not a flying type, or else Sprigatito wouldn't be able to do super effective damage to it. Makes sense. Quaxwell, one of the worst middle stage evolutions to a starter. It's kinda ugly. And, yeah, that's about it. Quaquaval. If you guys know my channel, you know, I don't like Quaquaval. I don't like it. It looks... I might offend some people with this, but it looks kind of gay to me. I don't like it. It's fruity. It looks like it... Let me just say this. I don't know if this is going to become a meme or not. Probably not. But it looks like it's about to slap my ass and ask me out on a date or something. I don't like that. That makes me uncomfortable. I'll put it in high F tier, though, because at least it's good in battle. Water Fighting is a decent type combo. Its signature move, Aqua Step, is really good. Terra Electric with it is actually really strong coverage if you pair it with, like, Ice Spinner and, like, Moxie sets, which is really strong, so... Or you can make it really tanky with Assault Vest, and because of Aqua Step, you can put even more into, like, its defenses and its HP. So you don't have to really invest that much in speed because of that. It works really well in range teams as well. I'll give Quaquaval that, but this fruity-ass design is what's keeping it really low. I don't care. I'd be fine using it in battle, but... I hate it. I don't care. I hate it. Hate it. Hate it. Lechonker. C tier. It's got a really neat name. Far from my favorite of the Gen 1, or the Route 1 normal type Pokemon. But it's alright, I guess. Oinkologne, E tier for the both of them. They're just so lackluster. They don't really have much going on with them. I mean, I guess they have a signature ability, but are you really going to use it? They both suck in battle, it don't matter. Tarantula, D tier. Far from my favorite first stage bug Pokemon. I mean, it's cute, I guess. I'll give it that. Spidops. Its design, it looks like it's supposed to be a fighting type. Like, look at the stance. Tell me this thing doesn't look like it's supposed to be a fighting type. I do like its shiny colors, I'll give it that, but we're not ranking shiny colors here. Otherwise, you know what? E tier. Just because it's such a freaking disappointment. The last 2 generations, we had really cool regional bug Pokemon. Vikavolt and Orbeetle were both so fucking cool. Why did they drop the ball so hard with Spidops? Honestly, why? It's got Gen 2 tier stats, it sucks in battles, design is lackluster. Why'd they drop the ball so much with this thing? I don't know. Nimble. I mean, it's alright, I guess. I'll put it low D tier. Doesn't have much going for it other than it's a grasshopper type Pokemon. Now, low kicks. This is a glove. This guy's cool. First bug dark type, not the best type combo. But it thanks to Tinted Lens, actually, with the amount of types that resist the combination of dark and bug actually worked to its favor because of Tinted Lens. Probably the best user of first impression that isn't named Galissapod. And it's got Axe Kick, which gives it some pretty decent coverage. So I think low kicks is pretty cool overall, and pretty neat design too. Pommy. And the first Pikachu clone besides Pikachu itself that has evolutions. I'm gonna give it B because I think it's adorable as hell, and pretty neat early game. Pommo, it's Pommy, but it's standing up and has slightly lighter skin. Because of that, high D tier. It's still cute, I guess. Palmati, we're not putting it in S tier, but I'm putting it high A tier because I like it in battle. It hits hard, it's fast, it gets things like Fake Out, and one of the best moves ever to be existed, Revival Blessing. Or as I like to call it in my VGC videos, Resuscitation or Resurrection, me as a Tales of fan. I like to say those things, just like how I call Drake a Meteor Storm. Slightly off topic, Double Shock is also a really cool move, basically electric type burn up. It's just so good. So, and again, still decently cute too. So I'm putting it high A tier for that reason. Dandy Mouse. Blandish design, I guess. And it's kind of, because of its slightly blandish, just mouse design, it doesn't even look like a Pokemon. I'm going to put it low, like mid D tier. And am I the one who thinks these guys kind of look like Hello Kitty characters? I can't be the one who thinks that. Let me know in the comments if you think Tandemaus and Mouse would look like Hello Kitty characters. But anyways, Mouse, on the other hand, I'm going to put it high B tier. It's actually really good in battle, though annoying if I'm on the receiving end because Blood Population Bomb is such a horrid move. I shouldn't say horrid move. I don't dislike it that much, but it is a little annoying to deal with in battle. You know what? It's not that annoying. I'll put it low A tier instead. Because it is very helpful. It's very good utility-wise, or if you want to deal damage with it. Very good loaded dice user. It's got a lot going for it. Technician or Friend Guard, it's got a lot going for it. Fido, fucking adorable, and because it's a doggo made out of fucking dough, it's going in S tier just cuz. Dashbird, on the other hand, a little lower, I guess, but it's a dog that's a fucking pastry. What is there not to like about it? It's not the best in battle, which is why I'm putting it in low S tier, but freaking top tier design. I love this thing, I don't care. A Smoliv. Just like Lechonk, top tier name, but otherwise it's a little lackluster. I'll put a low D tier. Doliv. Adorable design, I'll put a low B tier, but it doesn't really have much going on for it in battle either. Arbeliever. I'm an Arbeliever, man. I'll put it high B tier. It's pretty neat design, it's good in battle, it's pretty damn tanky, but not the best type combo, doesn't have much going for it. It could have had a bit more going for it, I'd say. Squawkabilly, another F tier Pokemon. At least Quaquaval's good in battle. Squawkabilly, uninspired design. I mean, I guess it's its coloration gimmick, it's basically just Viviola all over again, or Furfur all over again. We don't need that, with its little different colors and stuff. Doesn't really do much for it other than aesthetics. I mean, I guess it's a Guts user, but it's massively outclassed by other Guts users, so when Ursaluna exists, when Toxic Boost Zangoose exists, when frickin' Luxray exists, well, I know Luxray isn't as good of a Guts user, but still. And dare I say it, when fucking Swellow exists, and you already know my opinion on Swellow, why are you gonna use Squawkabilly? And it gets Intimidate too, but there are way better Intimidate users. Let's not get into that ballpark with, the king of VGC himself, Incineroar. But yes, with all those things exist, who's gonna use Squawkabilly outside of, like, joke teams? Really. Squawkabilly is the definition of, like, a joke Pokemon, team Pokemon, like, really. For that, it's going after, and probably my least favorite of all the Gen 9 Pokemon. Netley. It's a Mario Mushroom, what's there not to like about it? I'm putting it in E tier, or C tier, I mean, just because of that. Now, Knuckle Stack, it looks like it came straight out of Minecraft. Again, what is there not to like about it? Garganackle. This thing is just... It's good. And it's the first... Well, maybe not the first, but one of like the first pure rock-type Pokemon that actually works as a tanky Pokemon, because it has the stats for it and the move pool for it, too. Like, it doesn't matter how bulky you are if you don't have the tools to abuse said bulk. And Garganackle is one of those Pokemon that actually has said bulk for it. I'm going to put it in mid-A tier, but just like Mousehold, it's very annoying in battle, in my opinion. Just because of that. Because every time I go against this thing, it's nowhere near as bad as a certain Gen 4 Pokemon I absolutely loathe. It's got counterplay, yes. Just every time I run into a Garganackle, I don't have trouble. Like, I don't have nearly as much trouble as that, again, that said Gen 4 Pokemon. Though it's still a bit of a challenge to get rid of each and every time I run into it. So because of that, it gets slight minus points from me, but otherwise. Charcadet. I think I put it in a B tier. And back to the Naclulon for a split second here. I'm only putting him C tier because, aside from their designs, I don't really have much else going for them, but otherwise. And Garganackle with Purifying Salt, really cool ability. Though annoying to deal with. But yes, back to Charcadet. Slightly off topic there. Charcadet, I like how its design kind of leans into whether you evolve into Armrouge or Ceruledge. And I think that's pretty nice design there for a pre-evolved Pokemon. It's adorable too. Both Armrouge, Ceruledge, straight to S tier. These two are freaking badass. I think I like Ceruledge just a bit more though. The Blaze for Arms is freaking badass. Again, Ghost and Fire is a killer type combo. Same with Fire and Psychic. The Armrouge doesn't really look like it could be a Psychic type. It's still cool. And they're both really good in battle. Neat designs. They both look like they came out of Mega Man. Specifically for Armrouge, it looks like it came out of the Classic series, or maybe even the X series. And as for Ceruledge, it looks like it came out of like the Battle Network or Star Force series. Hell, fun fact, the designer for both Armrouge and Ceruledge is a person who actually worked on some designs for the Mega Man series, so that's why they look like Mega Man characters. But anyways, Tadbulb, kinda lackluster. It's just there, I guess. I'll put it mid-E tier just cause. Bellybolt. Decently fun to use in battle, I guess, though I wish I had a bit more. You know, it's not that fun to use in battle. I wish I had a bit more going for it. So I'd put it at, like, high D tier. It's got a pretty fun design, though, I'll give it that. Watchroll. Way better than Squawkability. And an alright regional bird Pokemon, I guess, if it counts as a regional bird. I'd put it mid-C tier. I think I like it. Kilowattrel, probably one of my all-time favorite Pokemon this generation, because it looks cool. It's fun in battle. I think I'd put it high S tier. This thing is also surprisingly underrated on weather teams, specifically on rain teams. Obviously, it's very good, but it can be used on other rain teams, other weather teams. Heck, I've used it on sandstorm teams before, and it works really well. So there's that. Maschiff, ugly, doesn't really have much going for it, even though it's a doggo Pokemon, and E tier. Mabostiff, it looks a little sickly, literally because of the Arven storyline, which it would have been better if, you know, maybe this one Mabostiff model was used for Arven's specific Mabostiff and not for the entire species, you know? Otherwise, it's a pretty cool dog Pokemon. I didn't want to put it in D tier. But, it's a pretty cool dog Pokemon. I wish it was a bit better in battle. You know what? Just because it's a dog, I'm putting it in... I'll put it low, like, A tier. Why not? It's a cool dog Pokemon, very underrated. It's got neat abilities. It's got a lot of coverage like Play Rough and Trailblaze, which makes it good in battle. I wish its design was a bit better. But otherwise, it's pretty neat in battle. I mean, if you need an Intimidate user that isn't Incineroar or, oh my lord, fucking Squawkabilly, use Mabostiff. And it's Guard Dog as well if you want to go against Intimidate. So there's that, I guess. What's this thing called again? I'm blanking on his name. Choodle. Not Choodle. Shroodle. There we go. No wonder I made that a little mistake. They rhyme. Anyways, lackluster design. E tier. Yeah, I don't know, just E tier. Not much to say about it. Grafaiai, a really fun prankster user. Its signature move in Doodle is also really cool to use. You can use it alongside things like Slacking. It's got a pretty cool design and kind of reminds me of Super Monkey Ball as well. I'm going to put it in mid-A tier for that. And hey, the very first Poison Normal type, though that type combo kind of sucks anyways, but still. Bramblin. The very first Tumbleweed Pokemon. Tumbleweeds are also another thing I always wanted a Pokemon based off of. Otherwise, it's kind of just there. I'll put it low D tier or like mid D tier. Bramblegast, pretty decent in battle. I'd say, despite its somewhat lackluster stats, it's pretty good in battle. I mean, its stats aren't that lackluster. It's got a good attack stat, but it's low speed, low HP. Aside from its attack stats are a little lackluster, but it's definitely got a lot going for it battle-wise. I put it mid B tier below Arboliva. And at least it's got a pretty sick design too, but compared to Delmise or Trevenant, it's a bit, off for me. Toad School! It's a fucking tentacle that walks. It's so fucking funny. It really is. Just from its freaking walking animation alone, it's so freaking funny. I'm putting it high A tier just for that. Toad School, if it wasn't for its god-awful ability, and we all know the reason why it has this ability. Look, if you're gonna give a Pokemon an awful ability, just because of one move, that being Spore, you might as well have not just given it Spore, you know? Because of that, I mean, outside of its god-awful ability, it's still pretty neat to use in battle, I'll give it that. And again, just like Toad School over here, it's a Tentacruel that walks, and it reminds me of the bloopers in Mario, so I'm putting it high A tier. And again, from my experience, it's pretty fun to use in battle as an offensive sweeper with like Choice Specs or Life Orb. But if it just wasn't for that god-awful ability, I'd put it higher, I think. Either high A tier or just low S tier. But Myceliumite, it's purely there because it gets that garbage ability, or because it gets Spore. Because of its high speed, which I will say again, I know I sound like a broken record, but I'll say it again. If you're going to nerf a Pokemon because of one singular move, don't give the Pokemon said move. Either that or significantly lower its speed or something. But otherwise, just don't give it said move. Which I have a feeling if the Convergent Pokemon didn't have the same abilities as their base form Pokemon, in this case Tentacruel, they wouldn't have given it that garbage ability, or Spore. Or just that garbage ability, and they wouldn't have bothered giving it Spore. Or they would have given it Spore, but they would have lowered its speed to like base 50 or something, you know? Otherwise, yeah, that's my opinions on Toadsquirrel. Cloth, I guess it's kind of funny, but unlike, when in a universe where Garganacl exists, just like Squawkabilly, it's just a joke Pokemon, to be honest with you. And its ability, it's such a bad Pokemon that its ability is literally, what's it called, Anger Shell? Is literally just a downgraded Shell Smash. I don't, does it get Shell Smash itself? I don't remember. But, I'm gonna put it high E tier. Because it's just like, I mean, Cloth Sticks, I guess, is a really cool item, I guess, and I wish it was a thing in real life, because that sounds frickin' tasty. But otherwise, it's so bad in battle. Its ability is literally just discount Shell Smash. Why didn't they just make it like Shell Smash, you know, where it raises your attack, special attack, and speed by 2 stages? Nope, instead, it raises them by 1 stage each. Why? I don't know. Maybe they thought it'd be too broken, I don't know. Capsicum, a lot of people say it's ugly. I think I like it a tiny bit more than most people do, but I kind of see where people are coming from with it. I will put it in, like, low D tier. It's like the Bowser Jr. of the Pokemon world, but way less cool. Skullvillain, this thing needs an evolution. Give it an evolution. I hope this thing gets an evolution in a future game. It is the very first fire and grass type, and just like Fuecoco, it being partially based on a chili pepper, I like a lot. I just wish it was better in battle, though. In Regulation G, I've been hearing it's getting a lot of usage, paired with, like, Koraidon or Groudon, so because of that, and because it's alright in battle, I wish it was better. I'll put it, and I do like its design, though. It looks a bit angry, and I guess it's supposed to be. I put it in B tier. Plus, it kind of reminds me of a fan-made Pokemon I made back in elementary school. If you guys know, I used to make fan-made Pokemon when I was, like, 8, 9 years old. And I remember I made this, like, it wasn't based on the pepper, but I made this, like, floating pumpkin Pokemon, I think. Something like that. Or this floating, I forgot what I based it off of, but it was based on some sort of plant where it would have 2 forms. And it was similar to Zenmo Darmanitan, because again, when I was making Fakemons, the latest Pokemon game that I was at the time was Pokemon Black and White, so I took a little inspiration from that. And one of its forms, it was based on like good luck and bad luck. I remember their names too. I give them. They were named Agravane, which would have been the red one, which would have been based on bad luck, and Lucravane, which would have been based on the green one and was based around good luck. And its ability, where if it's at half HP, it'll turn to Agravane, where it becomes a fire type, I believe, or it was already a grass fire type. I think I made it. In its base form, Lucravane. I mean, I guess I'm all over the place. Sorry about that, but they're not exactly. I mean, they're kind of the same Pokemon, but they turn into a different Pokemon depending on the form they're in. Lucravane and Agravane, which is why they have separate names. But yeah, the good luck one would have different stats, like they're tankier, while the bad luck one would have higher attack and speed, and would be angry and full of bad luck and whatnot, while the Lucravane, as I called it, would have been happy and whatnot. And green. And good luck. And this is kind of what Skullvillain reminds me of. It reminds me of that Pokemon I made back in the day, back in elementary school. And again, it would have worked similarly to Zenmo Darmanitan back in those days. So that's just thanks to Skullvillain for bringing up a distant memory. But one other thing about Skullvillain, if you watched one of my single battle videos, I had a giant aneurysm when I fought this thing because it protects Moodied. So because of that, I'm going to have it in mid B tier instead of high B tier. But otherwise, Scoville, you're pretty cool. Relor, the first dung beetle Pokemon. It's ugly. And I mean, it's shiny is alright, I guess, but we're not ranking it shiny. I'm going to put it mid E tier. It's just there, I guess. Rapska, fun Pokemon to use. If you guys know from my Regulation G Giratina team, I have this thing paired with normal Gemterra, normal Metagross. Holy fuck, is it so fun to use with Telepathy. I could just use that to phase right through certain explosion, and then immediately bring back my Metagross right afterward with Revival Blessing. It's so fun if you can pull it off. It really is. Plus, it gets speed swap, so you can, because of Rapska's really low speed, you can use that against Trick Room. You can use that to fuck around with your opponent's speed stat in case you're using like a really fast Pokemon. So that's another little tech you could use with it. Rapska already has an actually high special defense stat, so how I like to train it is max HP and max defense with like Bold Nature. And give it a Citrus Berry for longevity. You can use Struggle Bug to weaken your opponent's special attack even further. Rapska's got a surprising amount of things to it. It's not as cool as Orbeetle as a psychic bug type, but because of just simply how fun it is to use in battle, I'm going to put it in mid A tier. It's just so fun if you put it in the right context. Flittle, another pretty ugly looking Pokemon. So ugly, I think I put a low F tier. Just, it's kind of nauseating to look at, not gonna lie. Alright, Espaspa, there's a reason why this motherfucker was banned. This thing is funny to use. If you guys saw my recent Regulation H videos, where I used this in my Simple Beam team, if you can get stab boost with this thing, in like a single turn thanks to Psych Up, Store Power is so fucking broken on this thing. It's easily the strongest user of Stored Power besides like Poltegeist. It's way stronger than Poltegeist, in fact. This thing is so fun to use if you can get all stat buffs off and just watch it fall down with Stored Power. Oh, it don't matter if you're a Dark type because I could use Dazzling Gleam as well, unless your name's Incineroar. But still, if you're that worried about Dark types, Terra-Fighting, easy. Just to get around people trying to go, just trying to be immune to Stored Power. This thing is so fun to use. I wish it had a better design, but this thing's fun to use. Because of that, just like Rapska, mid-A tier. Tink-a-tink. It's a little bratty, not as... I mean, it's more bratty looking than Capsakid. But it's an alright baby-ish looking Pokemon. I'm surprised this thing isn't just straight up considered a baby Pokemon, but yeah, D tier. Tinkatuff actually looks kind of fun. And really cool, too. Just because of its actually pretty neat and cool design, I put it mid-B tier. Below Bramblegast. The Demon Tinkaton, as some of my viewers like to say. But, I'm gonna put this thing S tier. I think it's fun. It's such a fun Pokemon to use. Like, not only does it have one of the best type combos ever, its signature move, while busted, does, kind of bring into its downfall for me. And I'll bring that up in a second, but I like the amount of coverage moves it gets, like Ice Hammer. I'm surprised it doesn't just straight up get Hammer Arm either. That would have made sense, honestly, from a thematic standpoint. Even if it's not physically using its arm, you know? I'm surprised it doesn't get Wood Hammer either, which I guess makes sense, because you're using a Metal Hammer, not a wooden one. But still. But, one of my gripes I've always had with Tinkaton, which is why it's not a bit higher, is, just like with Toadscruel, this is a very similar situation to Toadscruel, but have you ever wondered why it has 75 attack? I'll tell you why, because Gigaton Hammer, base 160 power move that doesn't have that bad of a drawback. They thought it would be so broken, so they decided to give it a lackluster attack stat to bounce it out. Like, if you're going to intentionally nerf a Pokemon's stats or give it a garbage ability, just so a certain move that it learns wouldn't be so broken, you either might as well not give it the move, period, or if it's a new move like Gigaton Hammer, just nerf it to, like, base 100 power instead. Or give it a much steeper drawback, like a Steel-type Hyper Beam or something, you know? I would have preferred they did that and actually give it a halfway decent attack stat, like base 100, base 110 maybe. Because how is this thing with base 75 attack lug around this... Or, let me rephrase that. This thing has base 75 attack. There's no way this thing has base 75 attack when it's holding this big-ass hammer. Like, you'd expect this thing to have, like, at least 120 in attack or something. But otherwise, this thing's a very good Assault Vest user. It's a very good utility Pokemon with things like Fake Out and Thunder Wave, and probably one of the best Fake Out and Thunder Wave users because of Mold Breaker, so you can go over Pokemon like Golden Go with Thunder Wave, or Pokemon with Inner Focus, and you can use Fake Out on those. So it's definitely one of the best Mold Breaker users because of that. and why I like Tinkaton so much. Another really fun Pokemon to use. And another small gripe I have with it, why does it have to be the enemy of Corviknight? Corviknight is such a cool Pokemon. If you saw my Generation 8 tier list, you know my opinions on it, but does it really have to be the enemy of Corviknight? I don't know. That's my other small gripe about it, but otherwise, Tinkaton is so fucking cool. Wiglet, albeit kind of funny, and a decent, addition to Convergent Pokemon, this thing is so bad. It's so bad. It's genuinely really disappointing how bad this thing is. Low E tier. Wugtrio fucking sucks. I mean, at least this design isn't offensive like a Coclavel in my opinion, but this thing is just so bad in battle. Like, I remember in my Pokemon Scarlet and Violet playthrough, I was using this thing in the Fire type Team Star base. It was so bad. It lost to it. Just why? It's a water type. You're literally meant to destroy fire types, and you lose to them. I was a bit underleveled for that part of the game, granted, but still. Plus, this thing has Dugtrio stats, and it doesn't use them well because water is a more balanced-y defensive typing, not exactly an offensive type. So more offensive water types don't really do as well. Like, look at Inteleon, for example. It's like, it's not very, like, it's good in battle, yes, but as an offensive water type, it doesn't work as well. It could definitely be better if it had, like, a secondary typing. That's the same case here with Wugtrio, it having the same stats as Dugtrio. Don't even get me started with the abilities it gets. Why the hell? And again, remember what I said that Wugtrio has the same stats as Dugtrio? Why in the mother of fuck, if it has low HP and low defense, would you give it Gooey? Why? That ability works better on tankier Pokemon. At least with a low in Dugtrio and it getting Tangled Hairs, which is similar to Gooey. At least it has the part Steel typing, which gives it a lot of good resistances, so you can kind of use it well, in spite of its low defense. Plus, it gets a slightly higher defense stat compared to base Dugtrio. But they didn't bother changing Wugtrio's stats, so why the hell would they give it something that requires you to take a hit in Gooey? Why? Why would they do that? And not gonna lie, this might be the one water type where I'd actually use Seaking, if y'all remember my opinion on Seaking back in my Generation 1 tier list. Where I would actually use Seaking over this goddamn thing. Like, seriously. It's just that bad in battle. And I think it gets Water Veil. Does it get Water Veil or Sand Veil? I don't remember off the top of my head. Those abilities are kind of lackluster for it as well. I mean, if it has Water Veil, I don't remember if it does. But if it does, Preventing Burns is always cool, but there are better water types out there for that stuff. Like a water type we'll talk about later, but otherwise. Yeah, Wugtrio is so bad, plus his name is stupid. Wugtrio, interesting name, it's stupid. Anyways, enough talk. Next, Bombardier. Also, wait, one more thing about Wugtrio before I go on with that. Triple Dive is just a discount. Not even a discount, not even a dollar store, Dollar Tree level Surging Strikes. Its signature move, Triple Dive. Bro, that's like a discount Surging Strikes. Beyond discount Surging Strikes. Like, you're paying, like, if you're paying full price for Surging Strikes, you're paying 99.9% discount on Triple Dive. That's how bad that damn move is. Doesn't crit, it's slightly higher base power, I guess, but it doesn't crit and it has a chance to miss. For what? Plus its animation is dumb. Like, this is a move somebody bought for 99% off, and they were so dissatisfied with it, they still threw it away in the dumpster, and that's where you found it. That's how bad that fucking move is. Alright, for real this time, enough talk about Wugtrio. Next, Bombardier. Like other PokeTubers like to say, Bombardier. Anyways, enough of my cringe behavior. Bombardier, I wish it was a little better in battle. It's alright in battle. It gets Parting Shot, but there are other better Pokemon to use Parting Shot with. And Dark Flying, unless your name is Yveltal or Honchkrow, I always thought that type combo was a bit lackluster. I put it in high B tier. At least it's got a fun name to say. It's got alright. Actually, you know what? We'll put it low A tier instead. I'll get to the reason in a second, but it at least has a decent move pool, and the reason I decided to raise it higher is because of this. As a Dark Flying type, that already hits quite a few things for neutral damage, stab neutral damage. Plus its ability Rocky Payload. It's just like with Delmise and its ability Steelworker, where it gets stabbed to Steel type moves, but in this case, Rocky Payload gives stab to Rock type moves, so it gives effectively a third stab combo. Now, if you pair that with Terra types, either Terra Fire with like Heat Wave, or Fire-type Terra Blast if you want to use it physically, since most of his moves are physical. Plus, its physical stat is just better than a special attack stat. Its physical attack stat's better than a special attack stat. Or if you make a Terra Ground, which sure you're still going to be weak to Ice-type moves, but you at least have an immunity to Ground-type moves. And you're also resistant to Rock-type moves, too. So maybe still being weak to Ice is a bit of a decent payout, in my opinion, for that case. But otherwise, and you run moves like Drill Run on it, there is not a single Pokemon or type combo in the game that resists that 4-time stab combo of Dark, Flying, Ground, and Rock, which I think is really cool. So because of that, I'd give Bombird here actually a pretty high placement. Plus, it's a Stork. I think that's pretty cool. Alright. Finizen. It's the very first Dolphin Pokemon we've ever gotten. I'll give it that. Finizen, like, we've always needed a Dolphin Pokemon. So just from its adorable design alone, I'll put it mid-C's here. I'm surprised I didn't have normal Palafin form here. I guess because it's redundant to Finizen. And if you're curious, I would have put that like Ether. It's literally just Finizen, but with a heart on his chest. That's it. I get the point of that. Is because it's like Superman or All Might, you know? In public, he hides himself trying to make himself look like a normal citizen. But then, when he needs to become a superhero mode, as in Hero Form Palafin, that's when he changes form. I get the point of it, but the execution could have been better. But otherwise, Hero Form Palafin, he went from 0 to hero, and went to the top of the frickin' tier list, because holy fuck, this guy is cool. Maybe, I mean, it looks a little uncomfortable, like, standing on its fins like that, but this thing's so cool, and so fucking good in battle. It kind of blows Wishy-Washy's, changed school form out of the water, pun intended, I don't care. But, this thing has a really high attack stat up there with the likes of Slacking and Groudon, for fuck's sake. Or, actually, Groudon has 150 attack, right? Then, yeah, just with Slacking. And all you have to do is switch it out and in again. And there's so many pivoting strats with, like, Intimidate Incineroar or Super Sweet Syrup with Hydrapple, for example. So you can make the most that you can out of that synergy of just being able to switch things out. Or you can get a little damage off on your opponent with Flip Turn. Me, personally, I like using Scarf to Flip Turn with that, so you can get off the switch even easier. That's just how I like to use it. But yes, I know there's other ways to use that too, but that's how I like to use Flip Turn the most on it. Some people say Flip Turn sucks on it. I don't think so from my experience. Plus, its signature move, Jet Punch, cool name, and it's just a slightly stronger Aqua Jet, but it works really well too. And pairs really well with that ginormous attack stat L. It can even be used in base form Palafin. I've done that before in my single battle videos against like a Cyclozar to stop it from using Shed Tail. Because of that, Palafin hero form gets such a high placement for me. Even if it's base form here, I guess because of the example I just gave, I would have slightly given it a higher tier placement, but otherwise. Vadaroom. It's funny this thing gets slow start. That's actually a pretty funny joke on how car engines can take a while to start up sometimes. But otherwise, yeah, it's just an engine. Very first Steel Poison type, which I like to call the ultimate Fairy type killer type. Well, unless you're part Steel type, like Tinkaton line over here, but yes. Otherwise, yeah, its design, it could have had a bit more to its design. Plus, it's weirdly really fast in the overworld, but very slow in battle. Explain that? Whatever. Otherwise, I do like its type combo a lot. I'll put it in, like, high D tier just because of that. Revavaroom, not Revavaroom. Thank you. I'll put you high A tier. I don't like you enough to be an S tier, but this thing's very good in battle. Again, I really like its type combo. Shift Gears is a busted move to have on it. Terra Ground or Terra Water work very well for it to handle its weaknesses. I like Revavaroom a lot. Cyclozar, the present form of Koraidon and Miraidon. And we'll get to that later on in the list, but otherwise. I like its Shed Tail ability, and it pairs well with Regenerator as well, so you can have multiple uses of it. And you can even pair that with Citrus Berry, and again, you gotta tweak the EVs just right so you get an even number for it, whether you're at level 50, 100, whatever. Since it's a really good user of Citrus Berry as well. Plus, it can do some decent damage. I like that. Also gets Shift Gear too. It gets a lot of coverage moves. Overheat, Terra Fire works for it. Terra Ground works for it. Gets a lot of decent Terra types. Or, not Terra Ground, Terra Steel. Though I think Terra Fire is slightly better for it. If you're looking to like take a Fire type or an Ice type hit. Terra Steel helps with those too, but remember, you're still going to be weak to fighting if you use this, so I prefer Terra Fire. And again, pairs well with Overheat, even though it has a higher physical attack stat than special attack stat. Its design's a little bit I guess. And personally, I would have liked it more if you started out the game with a Cyclozar that you're riding on and it gained its abilities, then later on you get Koraidon or Miraidon. If you know what I'm talking about, you should watch my Pokemon Scarlet and Violet unused video for why I go into deeper detail with that. But that's honestly how I prefer Cyclozar to be used. If it was used like that, I'd give it a higher tier placement. So I'll put it mid-B tier just for that. I really wish you started out with it and then later, through like paradoxical powers depending on the version you had, you either got Koraidon or Miraidon later on. But otherwise, that's my placement for Cyclozar. Earthworm, very fun to use in battle actually, thanks to, again, being another user of Shed Tail. However, in some ways, aside from not getting Regenerator, I think it's a better user of Shed Tail. The reason being, you can take a hit and get whatever Pokemon in for free without them taking damage in the process of potentially losing the substitute that Shed Tail grants you. And honestly, aside from its lackluster special defense, Orthworm has the stats for it. Its HP stat's a little I guess, but that defense stat is very good. So trade it in HP and special defense, and give it a defensive Terra type like Ghost or Water to go against its weaknesses. And you should get off Shed Tail pretty easily, actually. From my experience in my Shadow Lugia team in Regulation G, I've gotten for that. From my experience of using it in Reg G, is why I kind of like it a bit. But otherwise, its ability is really cool. And I wish more, when we do get Mega Evolutions again with Pokemon Legends EA, I hope they change Mega Steelix's ability into Earth Eater, what the hell. Anyways, because I think I'll put it in high B tier, just because it's so fun to use in battle. And you can even use it offensively too at Body Press, and more reasons why I think there should be a Steel-type version of Body Press. That would be really good. Alright, Lemay. Looks like a certain, never mind, I'm not going to say it. That's very vulgar to say on a Pokemon video. I'm not going to say what it looks like, but, I mean, that's alright, I guess. I don't think I dislike it enough to put in E tier. You can find it before the Area Zero event in that one passage, Dizalip passage. I forgot what that's called. But I'll put it in mid D tier, I guess. Glimmora. Very fun Pokemon to use. I don't like it enough to put in A tier, but very fun Pokemon to use because of Toxic Debris, I mean. It's a very strong special attacker. I love using Terra Grass Energy Ball, which I'm surprised more people don't use, but whatever. They tend to use Terra Grass off defensively, but I like using it both offensively and defensively with Energy Ball. Against like water types and other ground types and stuff, or just ground types, not a ground type itself. Earth Power is a very good coverage move for it. Spiky Shield, as much as I tend to hate protecting moves, Spiky Shield's pretty cool for it. Poison, Sludge Bomb, or Sludge Wave is very good. I like how it gets Corrosion, so you can use it with Poison Gas, which I think is pretty cool. Though you'd just rather use Toxic Debris. And it's a really good way to whittle down your opponent's resources as well, especially in doubles, where you can only bring 4 Pokemon, you know? And so I like Glimmora for that. And it kind of looks like a flower when it's perched on a wall, too. I think that's a neat design. Greavard, honestly, just like Fido, it's a dog. Instead of a dog that's made out of dough, it's a dog with a candle on its head. I think that's awesome. Super wholesome until you remember the fact that just like Litwick, it can suck away your life force, so just be careful about that. Otherwise, I fucking love Greavard. If it wasn't so lethal, I'd have this thing as a pet. And if it were real, you know? Houndstone. Disappointing thing that this thing isn't a Ghost Rock type. Small minus points against it because of that, but otherwise, so good in battle. Last Respect, Sand Force, especially in Sand Team, super good. Fluffy, if you want to make it even tankier, pair that one with Sylva, so it's even harder to kill. Though it does gain a Fire type weakness because of it, but no matter. Just give it Terra Water or Terra Dragon if you're worried about that. So that's another neat way to use it if you want to. If you want to use it offensively, Terra Blast or Terra Fairy I think is really good on it against Dark types. Plus you can hit back those pesky Dark types for super effective with Play Rough, so you don't have to rely on Terra Blast. Shadow Sneak it gets annoying moves like Owl Switch and Will-O-Wisp, it just gets a lot to it. And again, it's a dog, it's so cool. And doesn't look ugly unlike a certain other dog Pokemon I ranked earlier in this list, but yes. Flamigo. It's just a Flamingo. Design-wise, at least. Battle-wise, it's really cool. Because of its kind of design, I mean, it slightly resembles a boxing glove, I guess, if you look closely, which is kind of cool, I guess. Otherwise, it's just a fucking flamingo. Hell, its name is literally one word off of flamingo. On one hand, it's clever wordplay because flamingo amigo, that's pretty cool. On the other hand, it's kind of lazy. So, I don't know. They could have done a bit better with the name, but on one hand, it's a cool name, on the other hand, it's a lazy name. It's kind of in between. I don't really know which one to choose between those two to describe its name, but otherwise. Now, if it was bad in battle, I'd have it in, like, D tier or something. Because it's actually really good in battle. Again, back to, just like with Espather earlier in the list, because of my Simple Beam team and because of the ability Co-Star, this thing is so just busted. Like, say I get Simple Beam on my Torterra, and after my Torterra uses Shell Smash, and then loses its Rider because getting rid of the defense droppings from it. Defense drop and special defense drop. Forget that I just said droppings, by the way. That was unintentional. But anyways, because of those +3 in defense, special attack... I don't know what I'm saying. +3 in attack, special attack, and speed. If my Golduck were to faint that turn, I can immediately bring in my Flamigo, plus a resist grass type moves in case there's a grass type threatening my Golduck. after he uses its move. And now because of Co-Star, he immediately gets that +3 in attack, special attack, and speed. So literally within the span of 2 turns, I can have 2 very busted stat-wise Pokemon on my team. Just be careful with Haze, of course, but yes. And it's so cool to use it like that in battle. Plus fighting and flying just like Hawlucha, really cool type combo that very few Pokemon resist. Like, the only Pokemon that resist are, like, what, Aegis Slash, which isn't even in the game, Base Form Rotom, Golden Go, that's it, really. And if you're not worried about Ghost types, and specific Ghost types like Golden Go against Stone Chop, and you can compare that with Terra Dark if you want to, which I think is really neat. So, plus it gets certain utility moves like Tailwind and Wide Guard, which are always useful in doubles, so there's that as well. But otherwise, if Flamigo just had a better design, I'd put it higher, and a better name, I'd put it higher. But otherwise, it's pretty cool, I guess. Satodler, or Satodle. If you guys watch my Pokemon Fun Stuff videos, you know that I fight a lot of these guys whenever I need HP EVs for my Pokemon. And not gonna lie, it's a little annoying to deal with if it's snowing on the in Glaciato Mountain in-game. Because of Snowcloak raising its evasion, especially if I'm using a Pokemon that uses moves that don't, that don't have 100% accuracy, it becomes really annoying. Plus, Satodler having moves like Bounce, it just makes it annoying, and sometimes it can paralyze me. So because of that, it gets slight negative points, but also gets positive points, because, hey, I like using this thing for HP EVs, plus it's kind of cute, I guess. I'll give it that. Titan! I haven't used this thing in battle very often over the likes of Excalibur, and we'll get to that later in the list. But it's pretty cool design. I always wanted a Narwhal Pokemon. I guess this is a land Narwhal. It's more like a land whale Pokemon, I guess, than a Narwhal. I've always wanted a Narwhal Pokemon, but this is... Until we finally do actually get a Narwhal Pokemon, this is the closest we'll get to one for now, I guess. But anyways, I think I'd put it in... Just because it's got a cool design, and Slush Rush plus Belly Drum is really cool, and Ice Shard as well, in case people try to outspeed you in some way, or significantly try to outspeed you, or even change the weather, you can still get the jump on them with a stab move at +6. Plus Terra Water and Terra Fire work really well for it. I think Terra Water's just a bit better, but otherwise. I put it mid-A tier, I really like it. Veluza, you're a Veluza, Vaultin Veluzers. Veluza. I wish this thing was better in battle. I like calling it Discount Bruxish, even though Bruxish already kind of sucked. I'm not going to put it in F tier because it's okay in battle, though it could be better. From my experience, like, remember, if y'all have seen my single battle videos with the top champion Jita theme team from 2 years ago, at the time of me recording this, it was 2 years ago. This thing is just so lackluster. I mean, this design is alright. Initially, when I first caught one, I thought it would be part Steel type. It looks more like a Steel type than a Psychic type, honestly. If you look at its textures in game, it looks like it's made out of metal, which is what confuses me on how it's a Psychic type, other than the color of its fins, I guess. And its signature move, Fillet Away, sounds cool on paper, where you take away half your HP in exchange of raising your attack, special attack, and speed by 2 stages, but it's just a worse Clangorous Soul. Clangorous Soul sure doesn't double your attack, special attack, and speed, but in exchange you get 1 point to your attack, special attack, and speed, plus 1 point to your defense and special defense, but you only lose a third of your HP instead of half of your HP. Plus, because Clangorous Soul is a sound-based move, it pairs well with Throat Spray, too. You don't get that Fillet Away. So, and because, unlike Komoro, Veluza's not very tanky in both its stats and its typing, well, Water Psychic is a decent defensive typing, I guess. But it doesn't pair well with its stats, because its stats just aren't tanky enough for it. Plus, it's slower than Bruxish for some goddamn reason. I don't know, because of all that and just how bad it is in battle, this design is alright, I guess. But this thing is just so bad in battle. I mean, it's got potential to do a lot of damage with sharpness, thanks to learning a lot of cutting moves like Aqua Cutter and Psycho Cut. And it's got decent coverage like Drill Run. I like running Terra Ground on it sometime. Again, just be careful of those pesky grass types. But otherwise, I think Terra Ground works on it well for that reason, and it makes it okay in battle. But I wish it was better in battle. I hope this thing gets some buffs in the future. Otherwise, yeah, just Veluza, and it's kind of hard to use, too, if you can't get those stat boosts off. Again, from my experience in the top champion Jita theme team. But otherwise, Veluza, you're kind of lackluster. Dondozo, the Don himself. Another, just like Garganacl, another very annoying Pokemon to deal with both solo and when paired with Tatsugiri, though it does have quite a bit of counterplay to it. How I like to take it down when it's paired with a Tatsugiri is, if it doesn't have the water availability, which I tend to like running Dondozo Water Veil instead of Unaware, because you already have so many stab boosts anyways, do you really need Unaware? I get why people run it on Dondozo, but still. I prefer using Water Veil to be immune to Burn, or Oblivious to be immune to Intimidate. If you want to be immune to Intimidate, I'd rather run Clear Amulet so you can't have people get rid of stats, and the only way they're going to get rid of your stats is either they hit you with Haze or Clear Smog. And there's even counterplayed again here with Clear Smog too. Terra Steel was run for a while too because of it. But it's a real big fish Pokemon that's partially based on a chef too. And it's got just like Tatsugiri, kind of looking like sushi. And uses sushi in some of its attacks, like Order Up, I think is really funny. So, because of that, and it's actually pretty decent to use in battle from my experience of using a Dondozo Giri team, I think I put it mid-A tier. It is a little annoying to battle whether solo or paired together with Tatsugiri, but otherwise, it does have counterplay at the same time, though. But otherwise, I do like Dondozo quite a bit. It's pretty cool. All three forms of Tatsugiri, honestly, just because they're sushi, I'm tempted to put them in S tier. I fucking love sushi. You know what? Low A tier. They're not good enough in battle, in my opinion, outside of being paired with Dondozo to warrant being an S tier, so I'm just gonna put them in really high A tier, literally just because of freaking food. But I wish it was a little better in battle, I guess. I mean, well, you know what? I bet you all look at the screen. Wait, you put Fido and Dash Bun in S tier, mainly just because they're dogs, but they're based on food, too, so you know what? Fuck it, S tier. Forget what I said earlier about not putting them in S tier. I do like that they get Storm Drain if you choose not to pair it with Dondozo, though I prefer using Gastrodon as the Storm Drain user. This is a nice alternative to Storm Drain if you want to. Plus, Water Dragon's a pretty cool type combo. But when Kingdra exists, or if Dragonfish ever exists again, I'd rather use those as my Water Dragon type user over these guys. Or in Regulation G, I'd rather use Palkia as my Water Dragon type user. That's just me, though. But otherwise, Tatsugiri's just so cool. Literally just because it's freaking sushi, and that's awesome. The different forms look okay, too. Heck, the orange one kind of looks like it has orange soy sauce on it, or duck sauce, and its shiny form looks like it has soy sauce on it. Then again, I'm someone who hasn't eaten Chinese food in years, so why do I care about duck sauce and stuff? You know what? Never mind what I just said. Annihilate Instant S tier. This motherfucker is so cool. Annihilate. I've always said we needed a Primate of Evolution, and boy did Game Freak deliver with this guy. Y'all remember in Pokemon Uranium, in that game, Primate actually did get an evolution, called Imprillo, I believe it's called, and it was alright, I guess. It's nowhere near as cool as Annihilate, though. Nowhere near as cool. Don't even compare that thing to Annihilate. Ghost fighting is one of the most broken offensive type combos ever, and people who have used Marshadow should know that. At least unless it's going against a Hisuian Zoroark, but doesn't matter. Hisuian Zoroark has such a low special, not special, HP and defense stat, you're gonna one-shot this thing with, a coverage move anyways. Like Throat, does it get Throat Chop? I don't think so. Like Assurance or even Outrage from my experience. Even a resistant Poison Jab would one-shot that damn thing. And, Defiant is such a cool ability to use on it, though Inner Focus is a little redundant on it, because one, you're already a Ghost type. Unless you Terastallize, I guess it's got some use there. And you Terastallize anything that isn't a Ghost type, so I guess it's got its use against Fake Out. But would you rather block Intimidate or get a +1 off of Intimidate? That's what kind of makes Inner Focus a little lackluster on it. Otherwise, neat, awesome design. This thing, I love how it uses Primate's description, one of its Pokédex descriptions, on how it can get so angry that it dies and turns that into a freaking actual Pokemon. That is so fucking cool. And don't even get me started with Rage Fist. Especially on Mouse Ape teams. That move is so broken. Base 350 power, and how I like to use it, Terra Ghost with weakness policy on beat up Mousehold or beat up Whimsicott, and just immediately throw off absolute nukes of Rage Fist, especially on 6-on-6 double battles, with instantly base 350 power, +2, Terra boosted! Unless you're a normal type, you're not taking that attack. You will not. You will not take that attack unless you're a normal type. And don't matter if you're a normal type, again, unless you're Hisuian Zoroark, which we already established why that's not the best counter to it. Unless you're Hisuian Zoroark, close combat to your face, bitch, or Drain Punch if you want. Annihilate is so fucking cool. It's so fun to use in battle. It could be a little annoying to use against, but honestly, not that annoying to fight against either from my experience. It may seem annoying on paper, but you can deal with it. But Annihilate is so cool, and by far the best cross-gen evolution we got in this generation. Or, yeah, best, along with another one we'll talk about later. Farigiraffe. Other than how fun this thing's name is, say Farigiraffe, or Farigiraffe. I like calling it Frigidoraph, but, just for fun. This thing is so good in battle. Psychic Normal is a pretty decent type combo. Armor Tail is one of the most broken abilities ever created, so you don't have to worry about the likes of, Fake Out, or Grassy Glide under Grassy Terrain, or Extreme Speed. This thing is just, it's so fun to use in battle, and has so many good moves. One of the best Trick Room users as well, because of that. If you're worried about Dark Earth, Bug-type moves, Terra Fairy is awesome. You know what? And I like how its tail kind of turns into a little sweater hood, too. Because I'm putting it low S tier. It's not that annoying to fight against either. I've dealt with a few Fridge Giraffes, and I've dealt with them pretty handily, too, so... Yeah, Fridge Giraffe is so fun to use and has so many useful tools. Seriously, especially as a doubles player, I get a lot of use out of them. Dead on Sparse. One, I do like it in battle, and I love its signature move in Hyper Drill, being able to break Protect. If you know me, I absolutely loathe that move, so anything that goes against Protect or a move similar to it, I'm immediately a big fan of. I was about to put it in F tier, and we'll get to the reason about that in a second, but just because of its signature move, low D tier. Just because I just love its signature move that much. And now, if Annihilate and Fridge Giraffe are much needed evolutions to older Pokemon that really needed those evolutions, the Dunsparce is a much needed evolution to an old Pokemon too. However, if y'all know my opinion on Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, you know I always say that game felt like it was purely made just so people would... it feels like that game was purely made just so people would shut up about Diamond and Pearl remakes. I get that same energy with the Dunsparce as well. Because it's literally just Dunsparce with a few extra chin spikes and an extra segment. And I guess you could get 3 segment forms as well, instead of just 2 segment forms. Same with Mousehold, where you can get 3 family Mousehold or 4 family Mousehold. And there's a theory how the Dunsparce would evolve 1 of the Mousehold's forms, but that's a discussion for another day. Otherwise, it's just design-wise, it's just, this is the frickin' Dunsparce evolution we were waiting for so many years? Really? You know what, actually, fuck it. High E tier instead of low D tier. Just because, like, we waited for so long for a Dunsparce evolution, and this is what we got? Now, going back to Pokemon Uranium, remember how I said Primeape got an evolution in that game? Back when I think Pokemon Uranium came out before even Gen 7 was a thing, before Sun and Moon came out? It's the same case with Dunsparce. It got an evolution in that game too called Dunzerath, which is a normal dragon type. Or was it... No, it's Dragon Flying, not normal dragon. But... unlike in this game where they gave us such a killer Annihilate evolution, in Pokemon Uranium, the evolution we got for Dunsparce in that game is better, but here is the complete opposite from what I said about Annihilate Brother. It's just, like, this is what we got. It's just Dunsparce with an extra segment, that's it. That's it. This is what we got. And I guess a really killer signature move too, I'll give it that. And the only thing saving it from going in F tier, but otherwise, if BDSP was purely made because Game Freak just wanted people to shut up about Diamond and Pearl remakes, the Dunsparce was purely made just so people would shut up about a Dunsparce evolution. Like, you can kind of tell they didn't really want to make this. I don't know. Some people think it's funny. I think it's straight up insulting. But otherwise, only thing keeping it from F tier is its really killer signature move. Otherwise, this is the Dunsparce evolution we got, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm a little pissed about it. Otherwise, King Gambit. I'm going to put it in S tier, but we're going to put it... I'm going to put it, like, mid to low S tier. The reason being is, I don't think it needed to exist. Put down all your pitchforks, everybody. I'll explain why. The reason being, Bishop is already a good Pokemon as is. Unlike Dunsparce, Girafarig, or Primeape, which maybe one of them had some niche usages in certain platforms, like Girafarig and Little Cup, for example. But in normal competitive play, all 3 of those Pokemon sucked. Bishop, on the other hand, Bishop was already good as is. It didn't need an upgrade. Pokemon like Mightyena or Lumineon or Ladian needed an evolution far more than Bisharp did. But Bisharp is the Pokemon that got an evolution. And again, this is going to be a little thing I'll talk about later on in the list with a certain other Pokemon that got a cross-gen evolution. But Bisharp was already good as is. It was one of the most broken Pokemon back in Gen 5 and Gen 6, especially when Knockoff got buffed. And especially the addition of Fairy types when offensive Steel types were needed more than ever. Even if it's part Dark type and kind of got in the way with that, I guess, but still. Did we really need King Gambit? I mean, look, don't get me wrong. Very cool design, very cool concept of a bishop becoming a king. Or let me rephrase that. You go from a pawn in Pawniard to a bishop in Bisharp, and to a king in King Gambit. Which I'm surprised there isn't a female form of King Gambit called Queen Gambit or something. That would have been really cool, missed opportunity, but whatever. And it makes sense why King Gambit has a lower speed stat to Bisharp, because in an actual game of chess, the king can't move very far. It can't move very far, you know? So, more reasons why I think if we had a queen form of King Gambit, like a female form of King Gambit, that had like a really high speed stat, but was really like frail. Like the same HP stat as Bisharp, and lower defense stats, but much higher attack and much higher speed. To reference the fact that in chess, the queen is the strongest piece on the board. But if the queen dies, the game is over. However, if a pawn makes it to the other side of the board and that board becomes a queen, which could have referenced the fact that maybe there would be more female bishops and female pawners than males. So like a 25 to 75% gender ratio, in my opinion, for the pawn-yard line. So 25% of king gambits are king gambits, while the other 75% would have been the female form of king gambit. That's my idea of what king gambit I think should have been if it really needed to exist. But otherwise, talking about its battle prowess, it has a slightly higher attack stat than Bisharp. Much tankier, much higher special defense, higher defense, and much higher HP. So it's a very, very good user of Assault Vest, in my opinion. Or as I like to use it in some of my Reg H teams, where I traded it in attack and defense fully, because its defense and HP are already naturally high, plus it works really well in Trick Room teams too. And I like to call King Gambit, if it gets set up with like Swords Dance, a bit of a raid boss in some cases. And it kind of is, especially in Trick Room teams. I like using King Gambit in Trick Room teams. Most people don't use it, and it doesn't really need to be used in Trick Room teams, because it's so tanky already, it's going to take a hit or two. Plus, in the age of Terrestrialization, if you're so worried about fighting type moves, Terra Flying and Terra Ghost exist. Plus, its signature ability in Supreme Overlord is so cool. Mostly in singles, though. In doubles, it's kind of eh. Just use Define in doubles, but in singles, very useful. Otherwise, King Gambit is so cool, but I still don't think it needed to exist. If it needed to exist, like an Eye Wipe, I'd put it up there with an Eye Wipe and Skeleturge, but otherwise. Like I said before, we're ignoring Paldean, Wooper, and Clodsire. Those will be, just like with the original forms of Gen 8 tier list, those I'll save for a later time. For the regional variants tier list. Great Tusk, another one of my favorite Pokemon this generation, S tier. Before Pokemon Scarlet and Violet came out, back when I was doing my Splatoon 3 playthrough, I mentioned, and also when I was doing my Pokemon Sword and Shield Fun Stuff videos, I mentioned how fighting ground was one of my, and in my Pokemon Sword Nuzlocke, how ground fighting was one of my most wanted type combos, and I'm so happy. Just as I said that, we got Great Tusk. It was so cool. And Great Tusk is so strong. Oh man, Choice Band or Choice Scarf on a Sun team, and you guys should know from my Reg F Sun team or my Reg G Sun team, this thing tears ass. It's so strong. Headlong Rush, Close Combat, freaking Choice Scarf to outspeed any Fluttermanes that aren't booster speed. With Iron Head, Terra Steel Iron Head, so I can pull an Uno reverse card, take your Moonblast, and fire back with a so strong Iron Head. Ice Spinner, Head Smash. I love Great Tusk, one of my all-time favorite Generation 9 Pokemon. This thing is so strong in battle. It's another new form to a Pokemon that kind of needed it. It has one of my most wanted type combos at the time. So good. I love this thing. It's so fucking strong. And on the other side of that coin, actually, we'll get to that in a sec. Screamtail. I like how everybody says it kind of looks like Kid Buu from Dragon Ball Z, and I kind of see it because of its little head tuff over here. And hey, it's another older Pokemon that got some sort of attention with this Paradox form. So I'll give it that. And it's a really good utility mon. It's got very low offenses, but that's supposed to be the case. It's got high HP, high defenses, and very good speed as well, because it's a utility Pokemon. It's meant to get off things like Screens fast, Thunder Wave, Stealth Rocks, Perish Song. It's meant to get off those moves very fast. So it definitely... Plus, it kind of has the typing to deal with that, too. Fairy Psychic is a decent defensive typing, actually, for it. It probably would have been pure Psychic if Fairy types didn't exist. Either that or Psychic Normal. If this were introduced, like, pre-Generation 6 or something. But otherwise, Screamtail's cool. I like it. I like it a lot. I like using it as a utility Pokemon. Definitely should make a team around it when Reg G comes back. But, because of that, it's fun to use. I'll put it mid-A tier. I like it a lot. Brubone. Also, another fun Pokemon to use. People tend to use Amoonguss over it, because Amoonguss does have the better type combo, I'll give it that. Because Grass Dark has to be one of the worst defensive type combos. I didn't mention that with Meowscarada earlier in the list, but Meowscarada is more of an offensive Pokemon, which is why I think that type combo works well for Meowscarada, but not for Pokemon like Shiftry, Wochi, and we'll get to that later in the list, or, here we are, Brubone. But otherwise, it's fun to use in battle. It hits very hard. I like to run it with like 100 in defense and special defense personally, but max HP, so it can tank hits very well. It's a good user of Rage Powder, though not as good as its present form in Amoonguss, but it's still really good in my opinion. Really fun to use. I'm going to put it above Screamtail. Though I still wish these guys had actual names, but that's a discussion for another day. Flutermane. I don't like it as much as other people do, though it is very strong in battle. And Ghost Fairy, a killer type combo. It is fun to use too, in my opinion. I'll put it below Espathra, though. Actually, you know what? No, if y'all saw my Generation 2 tier list, y'all know I really like Mischievous, one of my favorite bug types. Ghost types. It's not my favorite ghost type, but it definitely is up there. Mischievous might be like my third favorite ghost type, maybe. Though Fluttermane doesn't really crack that top 3. And yeah, because if y'all remember, my favorite ghost types are Dusknoir, Chandelure, and Mischievous. I think Mischievous is cute as hell. But Fluttermane, a little less cute, I guess, than Mischievous. But it's very good in battle, looks kind of fearsome, so and it's fun to use. So I'll put it in high to mid A tier. Just for that. I was going to put it low A tier before, but I decided to raise it. I fucking love Slitherwing as well. This thing is so cool. I'm putting it above Palfin. It doesn't have the best type combo. Fighting Bug kinda sucks offensively. Neither type combo can hit Poison, Ghost, Fairy, or Flying types for even neutral damage. But otherwise, look, I love using this thing with a Choice Scarf with coverage moves like Earthquake and Flare Blitz. Probably one of the best non-fire type Flare Blitz users up there with Galarian and Darmanitan. This thing hits hard. This thing will, this is, of all the past forms, along with a certain one we'll talk about later, this one you do not want to run into in a fight. You do not want to fight this thing. This thing will give you a new fucking hairline. This thing will close combat you a new hairline and beat the shit out of you, and I love it with that. Plus, it's got a really cool tail that you don't see in its normal idle animation in the summary screen. You only see it when you're in battle, though, when it's standing up. And because of that big tail, one small gripe I have with Slitherwing, why isn't it a dragon type? Why'd they make it bug fighting type? It was right there, bug dragon type. Game Freak, explain, please. Otherwise, I fucking love Slitherwing. I'm surprised it doesn't get any dragon type moves now that I think about it. But whatever. Sandy Shocks. Honestly, of the original 7 not kind of cried on past Paradox forms that we got in the base game, Sandy Shocks is the most lackluster one. Don't get me wrong, I really like Magneton. But Sandy Shocks is kind of lackluster, I'll be honest. It's alright in battle, though, the worst of the original 14 Paradox Pokemon. Again, not counting Cried and Miraidon. Of the Paradox forms we got in the base game. It's definitely the worst of all of them, in my opinion. Electric Ground's kind of a sucky type combo now. The type can touch grass types or neutral damage, if we know it's Stunfisk. That and its move pool kind of sucks. Its stats are okay. It's got decent speed. Because of that, you can run it with, Booster Speed Paradox. What am I saying? Booster Speed with Booster Energy, with Photosynthesis. Or if you want to run it as an all-out special attacker, you could as well with a decent speed stat, too. You'd be sacrificing a little speed to get that to work, but yes. Otherwise, it just gets ground it's just like it's a present form with that. Where it's got lackluster move pool, where it's pretty much stuck, outside of Terrestrialization, Magneton's kind of just stuck with Tri-Attack, an Electric type move, and a Steel type move for its coverage. Which is kind of sad, not gonna lie. Well, if Signal Beam still exists in the game, I always liked running Signal Beam on Magneton and Magnezone as a coverage move that it doesn't really need, but whatever. But otherwise, yeah, it kind of shares the same problems as its present-day forms, and outside of Terrestrialization, it's kind of bad offensively. Because of that, I'm going to put it mid-B tier. It's definitely probably my least favorite of all the Paradox forms, I'd say. Well, actually, no, that's not true. Battle-wise, it's my least favorite of the Paradox forms, but design-wise, it's okay, I guess. So, I'll give it B tier for that. Though Terra Ice on it is really good. I recommend using that a ton. Now, like I was trying to say with Great Tusk earlier, on the other side of that coin, Iron Treads I fucking love as well. I don't like it as much as Great Tusk. I still really like it. It's still one of my favorite Paradox forms. I kind of like that its trunk kind of turns into a wheel of some sort that it can still use. Because anybody knows how Great Tusk can't roll into a wheel, which makes sense. It probably didn't develop that skill back in the days when Great Tusk reigned supreme, you know? And later on, the Donphan line evolved to be able to spin the way they do. But Iron Treads takes that a step further. Where how Donphan couldn't see with its eyes when it's rolled up, Iron Treads can now. Because its trunk tail, or its trunk, became more on the top of its body over here. It kind of is more similar to a mechanical wheel now. Plus Ground Steel, if you know my opinion on Escadrille and Steelix, is already a really cool type combo as well. Plus this thing's awesome in battle. I like running Terra Electric on it for pesky water types. Terra Flying works for it. Terra Bug is surprisingly good on it from my experience. Terra Dragon, too. It's got a lot going for it, seriously. Iron Bundle. Dumb name, in my opinion, still. If you saw my Scarlet and Violet playthrough, you know why I think it's dumb. Otherwise, you know what's funny? We live in a world where Iron, fucking Delibird of all things, is good and competitive. A future version of it still. Not exactly Delibird itself, but still. Water Ice is a really neat type combo, and definitely a type combo I think works better offensively than defensively. See Walrein and Lapras here for why that's the case, but yes. Because of that, I really like it. Definitely another one of my favorite base game Paradox forms. This thing is just, it's so strong. Freeze Dry and like Hydro Pump. I wish it got like Surf or... yeah, it doesn't get Surf. And even if it did, why would you use Surf in doubles? I mean, you could pair it with a Gastrodon, I guess, or Water Form Ogerpon to get some good use out of that, I suppose, but I really wish it got Surf. It makes sense why it wouldn't get Scald, though. Because it's an Ice type. Why the fuck is an Ice type going to use Boiling Water? But anyways, things like this make me wish like Water Pulse was a bit stronger or something. Water Pulse would be a really neat move to use on it if you want accuracy. But instead, you're stuck with using the unreliable Hydro Pump. Strong move, yes, but that 80% chance to hit, not the best. Because you know what a certain person said, something, something, if it ain't 100% accurate, it's something, something, 50% accurate, whatever. But anyways, Iron Bundle is so fucking fun to use in battle. I love to use a Terra Ground or Terra Grass. Terra Ground for offense, Terra Grass for defense. Anyways, Iron Hands. I'm not going to put an S tier because Hariyama's far from one of my favorite Pokemon, or Pokemon that I've really liked, but I'm going to put it high A tier. Super good to use in battle. I remember using it back in both Regulation D and Regulation G. Or, not Reg G. Reg D, Reg E, and Reg F. Boy, did it put in work. And in Reg A and Reg G, too, alongside Calyrex and King Gambit, and my Trick Room team for that team. Specifically, Ice Rider Calyrex. Fake Out's such a good utility move. One of the best users of Assault Vest, if not the absolute best user of Assault Vest. Max train this thing in HP, good amount in attack, and the rest in either defense or special defense. Drain Punch with like Terra Fighting if you want, or Terra Steel, or Terra Fairy to make it tankier. It is not gonna die, especially if paired with like a Life Dew user. Fucking, and on Trick Room. If you can get all that set up, Iron Hands can straight up take out teams all by itself, and it's so good for that. Because of that, I'll put it in high A tier. This thing is so good in battle. I remember what I said that, I can't speak. Sandy Shocks is my least favorite Paradox Pokemon, battle-wise. Iron Jugulis is my least favorite future form. And Hydreigon is so cool, too. I hate this thing. I don't like it. It's okay in battle, I'll give it that. And it's faster than Hydreigon, but overall... And I like running it with, like, Terra Water on Rain teams, even though be careful with those pesky electric types. And I've gotten some good use out of Iron Jugulis there. And it's a good Tailwind user as well. I'll give Iron Jugulis that. So that's going to save it from an F-tier placement. You know what? Fuck what I just said about saving it from an F-tier placement. Despite what I said about Quaquaval earlier, that it's good in battle, even if Iron Jugulis is alright in battle too, I'm going to put it in F-tier. I hate this thing. It looks dumb. And here's one comparison to Hydreigon that I found on another person's video one time. You know how in Final Fantasy VII, certain monsters in the overworld would be extremely pixelated, and then when they're in battle, they get their full body models? A lot of 5th generation games did that. Like, Super Mario 64 did something like that kind of too. That's a discussion for another day. I remember hearing that Iron Jugulis, if Hydreigon is what you see in battle, like let's take Bahamut from Final Fantasy VII, for example. If Hydreigon is the 3D model of Bahamut you see in battle in Final Fantasy VII, Iron Jugulis is the freaking overall 3D model you see. It's so dumb. I mean, I guess the floating head arms is kind of cool. I'll give it that. But it's so dumb battle-wise. The rest of that, at least the other future Paradox forms I've already mentioned up to this point, I'll have something going on with them, just not just being, oh, it's just a robot. Iron Treads is this little wheel thing on the top of its face and its head. Iron Bundle with its water cannon. Iron Hands with its floating hands and how cool it is in battle. And we'll get to the other ones soon enough, but yeah. Iron Jugulis, and you know what else I hate about Iron Jugulis? It's Pokedex entry. Am I the one who finds I think it's Pokemon Violet Pokedex entry disturbing? A Hydreigon somewhere in the future fell in love with a robot and mated with it. Am I the only one who finds that kind of disturbing? That's the equivalent to a human... I'm not going to say it. It's just like a certain other thing. I forgot what it was earlier in this tier list that I said that was too vulgar. Oh, yeah, I remember. What I said about Glumet was what I was about to say about Glumet was too vulgar. It's going to be the same here. Let's just say a robot. I can't say it. It's just dumb. I don't know, who on the dev team thought that shit was a good idea? A Hydreigon somewhere in the future fell in love with a robot, if you know what I mean, in adult terms, and made Iron Why did they think that was a good idea? That's just wrong. Come on. Pokemon is one of the last franchises you make a joke like that in. Come on, man. Anyways, Iron Jugulis, just dumb design-wise. It's probably the worst user of Quark Drive because it's a flying type that doesn't get... It learns electric side moves like Charge Beam, yes. But it doesn't get the electric type damage boost from it like any of the other future Paradox forms would, because it's a flying type. It's not affected by the effects of electric terrain, so you can't even block things like Spore with it either. It's just so bad. It's less tanky than Hydreigon. Hydreigon overall, I think, has the better type combo. Dragon Dark is better. Plus, Hydreigon has Levitate, so it makes it immune to spikes and toxic spikes and whatnot, and other entry hazards that isn't Stealth Rocks. Whereas for Iron Jugulis, it's weak to Stealth Rocks because it's a flying type. Which I feel like the only reason they gave it the flying type was to emulate Levitate in some way, and they kind of failed by doing that, let's be honest. Otherwise, I hate Iron Jugulis. He's my least favorite of all the Paradox forms. However, I can't say the same thing about Iron Moth. I think I like it just a tiny bit less than Grey Tusk, but definitely more than some of the other future Paradox forms. And the other Paradox forms in general. I love this thing. You guys know how much I fucking love. You all know how much I absolutely love Volcarona. All three forms of Volcarona are so goddamn cool. Iron Moth. I remember when I first did the Professor Turbo boss fight in my playthrough of the game, and I went, oh my god, a future Volcarona, I want it now. I'm paraphrasing a little of what I said over 2 years ago, but I'll never forget that reaction. I love this thing. It doesn't make sense that it's a poison type. I think I would prefer it being maybe fire or steel instead of fire or poison, because how the hell is this thing poisonous? I don't care. It's so cool. It's very strong in battle. Base 140 special attack to 110 speed is so good. And I could pair it with, on a team with Miraidon, or dare I say Pincurchin. With Power Herb, for Meteor Beam, Terra Rock, Meteor Beam, if you're not too worried about the ground type weakness, so you can get extra power boost on there. It's so strong. Because running max speed, you get a +1 to your special attack, +1 to your speed. It can kill things in one hit very easily. It gets Fiery Dance unlike its past Paradox form, which makes sense why that doesn't get Fiery Dance, but whatever. This thing will wreck your team if you're not careful. I love Iron Moth. Hail to that thing. Iron Thorns, it's in a similar boat to Iron Jugulis, where it's a significant downgrade to Tyranitar in pretty much every way. If Tyranitar has a card weakness to fighting, this thing has a card weakness to ground. And fighting is a much less common typing than ground is. So overall, electric rock is a worse type combo to to dark fighting. Rock dark, I can't speak. And because of that, it's definitely going to get some minus points. I'll put it above Iron Sandy Shocks. I'm going to put it above Sandy Shocks. Because Iron Thorns, I like its design. It's alright in battle. It's a decent user of Terra Bug. But otherwise, this thing kind of sucks. In battle, I guess. It could be a bit better in battle. You know what? It's not that bad in battle, actually. It at least gets Dragon Dance. It can do something, but use Tyranitar instead of this thing. Tyranitar is way better in pretty much every way. Hell, its stats are very similar to Tyranitar. It's pretty much got the same HP attack and defense as Tyranitar, but slightly lower special attack, special defense, and speed. That's it. Why? I don't know. But otherwise, that's how its stats work. For Regibacks, a little ugly, I guess, but it's okay. I'll put it mid-D's here. Arctobax, like I said with Floragato earlier in the list, I like this thing, another one of my favorite middle stage evolutions up there with Duat, Luxio, and Porygon 2. Because of that, I'm going to put it low S tier, just because I really, really like its design. Plus, it's got a cool name. Baxcalibur. Oh, I love this thing. I fucking love this thing. I'm going to put it right here. Very good in battle. It's basically what people like to call a poor man's Black Kyurem, but not by much. Like, if you're not playing in a format where Black Kyurem's allowed, literally just use Baxcalibur. But it's got other things going over Black Kyurem. Sure, it doesn't have electric type coverage, but Thermal Exchange is a really cool ability, blocking burns, and plus if you get hit by an attack, a fire type attack, you get an attack boost. In my opinion, it just should straight up make you immune to fire type attacks. I think that would make that ability just a tiny bit better. Plus, it would pair really well with Terra Ice if you want a power boost, so you have overall less weaknesses. Or if you're worried about, like, Spore, you can run Terra Grass and you have less weaknesses overall, and you're a bit tankier to certain things. Like, I've seen Terra Grass Excaliburs before. Have I? Actually, never mind what I just said about Terra Grass. Never mind, I sound stupid. Terra Bug instead. Terra Bug I've seen used for, like, taking a fighting type hit, for example. I think that's pretty decent for it. But be careful of those pesky rock types. And I guess Terra Grass was okay for rock types. Yeah. But I'd prefer running Terra Ground, Terra Ice, or Terra Steel on it. Actually, Terra Ground is better. You can hit back. You can hit those rock types back for super effective, plus take their hit. You can do the same with steel types that Excalibur has trouble hitting for neutral damage. You can run this thing with loaded dice. Ice Body's really fun to use on a snow team. Again, paired with Aurora Veil, Alone Ninetales, and Terra Ice for a power boost. It's very good. Excalibur is so fun to use. Plus, it's going to remove Glaive Rush. Basically being an outrage that doesn't make you confused. And in my opinion, its drawback isn't as bad as a Gigaton Hammer or Blood Moon or Saluda's Blood Moon attack. Because well, you know me, I don't like using Protect, but use Protect to get around the effects of Glaive Rush, or use Ice Shard, which also surprisingly gets through those effects. Unless you're going against a Psychic Terrain team, that's a different story, but otherwise. That's how much I like Excalibur. Gimme Ghoul. It's basically the mimic of the Pokemon world, well, besides Voltorb, Electrode, and Amoonguss and Foongus kind of already hitting in that role, but I think Gimme Ghoul kind of takes that role a little more seriously. And it's kind of like the Korok Seeds in Breath of the Wild. And I think that's pretty cool. We have to find them all across the world, and you get rewarded pretty big time with Golden Go. So because of that, and I kind of like its gimmick too, I'm going to put it in C tier. Same with the roaming form, why not? It's scuttling around that corner is kind of cute, I guess. Minus points though, when this thing was first revealed through an accidental picture leak, I thought it would be a bug type. It kind of looks like it could be more of a bug type to me, mainly because of the antennas. But otherwise, it's a ghost type, it's made out of coins, I think it's cool. Golden Go, fuck yes, this thing is cool. Its design is a little goofy-ish, I guess. String cheese man, everybody, but I love this thing. Golden Go's super strong in battle. Its ability is busted as all hell. It's basically Aegis, well, not basically. It's like Aegis Slash, and it's Generation 9 Aegis Slash in some ways, mainly in its typing. Being a Steel Ghost type, one of the best type combos in the game. Its signature Make It Rain, by far the best move. The best name move a move has ever had in all of Pokemon. Make It Rain. It's just, who doesn't like Make It Rain, man? Like, I think this is the one move that not a single soul in all of Pokemon hates. Like, not a single person who plays Pokemon hates. I love that move. Just from the name alone, it's such a cool move. Make it rain. I can't get enough of that. Man, I almost want to make a rap song based on that shit. Make it rain. You can tell I really, really like that move. Terra Steel with specs. Make it rain will hit like a freight train. Pun intended, fuck it. Oh, you know what? I should. If anyone wants, please. This might be a secondary question of the day. If anyone wants me to make a rap video on the move Make It Rain, please let me know. I'm gonna make that shit. I'm gonna hire people for that crap. That sounds awesome. But anyways, I'm going slightly off topic. Shadow Ball is really good at it. Terra Fairy, Terra Blast, or Dazzling Gleam is really good for it. Terra Water if you're worried about fire type moves. Just like with King Gambit, Golden Go is one of those Pokemon that pretty much will work with so many different Terra types. Like, it's kind of hard to pin down what Terra type you're gonna go against every time you run into a Golden Go. Terra Normal, Terra Ghost for extra power, Terra Steel for extra power, Terra Flying to go against ground type moves, Terra Water to go against fire type moves and to be used offensively, Terra Electric I like using, honestly, Terra Fighting for Focus Blast if you're feeling risky. This thing's just so cool. That ability's busted. This thing hits like a freight train. I love using it on rain teams to go against fire types as well, like on my Reggie Kyogre team. With Focus Sash even, so I can more safely get up a Nasty Plot, all of that. And because I'm a Ghost type, I'm immune to Fake Out, so I don't have to worry about my Sash being broken. So good. Golden Go is awesome. Alright, now we're on to the Treasures of Ruin. We're starting with the worst member. I'm so sorry, live Wochin reaction, but Wochin sucks. And like, remember what I mentioned with Brute Bonnet earlier in the list? Where Grass Dark is just not good for it? Grass Dark is not a good defensive type. And a Pokemon, and as I've always learned through competitively playing Scarlet and Violet, if you have to terrestrialize your Pokemon for it to work well, it's not a good Pokemon to use. It's very similar to the saying, look, when you're telling a joke to somebody, if you have to explain your joke, it wasn't funny. That's the same case here. If you have to terrestrialize your Pokemon for it to be good, it's not a good Pokemon. Like, your Pokemon should be good whether it's terrestrialized or not. Because of that, and I do like that it's a snail, though. Not as cool as the likes of Gastrodon or Slugma. Unlike Gastrodon and Slugma, I don't want to have this thing as a pet. I'd love to have a Gastrodon or a Slugma as a pet, personally, if Pokemon were real. That's just me. But Wo-Chien doesn't really deliver that same thing. I mean, its ability is okay, but when Intimidate exists, it kind of drops a bit. So because of that, I'm sorry, Wo-Chien live reaction. High D tier for you, that's all you're getting. You got a neat design, though, that's what saves you. Shenpao. A little annoying for me to fight when it has Terra Ghost, Focus Sash, and Reg F and Reg G. But this thing is so good. Pair it with any physical attacker, that physical attacker will tear teams to shreds. Pair it with Dragonite, Excalibur, your dad, I'm kidding. Nobody hate me for that. Pair it with any physical attacker that's halfway decent, this thing will help it tear some ass, and tear some ass with it too. And honestly, me personally, again, y'all know how much I hate Protect. I'd rather run, if I'm going to run Focus Sash, I'd rather run it with Swords Dance to really get most value out of Swords Dance. And give it Sucker Punch, Icicle Crash, or Ice Spinner, just to really make sure I kill my opponents, you know? Or I can pair it with a Follow Me user as well, just to get up those attacks a little more safely. All that. Shenpao just has so many things you could do with it, and I absolutely love it for it. An underrated way to use Shenpao, in my opinion, is use it with Terra Fighting instead of Terra Ghost or Stellar Terra. So you can use it with Sacred Sword. Not only do you patch up your major Rock-type weakness and Steel-type weaknesses, but you can deal some extra damage with Sacred Sword, hit those Steel-type and Rock-types back for super effective, other Ice-types back for super effective, etc. Just be careful of those pesky Fairy types. Though because of that, I think Terra Poison works on Shenpao pretty well as well, in my opinion. But yep, Shenpao I'm going to put in high S tier, like high to mid S tier. This thing is just so cool to use. Pun intended. Alright, Ting Lewis and Chi Yusuf. Ting Lewis, Chen Paul, Wo-Chad, and Chi Yusuf. Yep. I'm putting these guys in S tier as well. Oh, because you're a goldfish, I think you're my favorite. I think, actually, Ting Lu is my favorite of the Treasures of Ruin. We'll get to that in a second. It's not the best design-wise with Ting Lu, but y'all remember what I said about Hisuian Goodra in some of my Pokemon videos? I do like offense a lot, but I think my second favorite playstyle in the game is when I can run something super tanky, so tanky to the point where it's either extremely hard to kill or it's borderline unkillable. Ting Lu, I think, along with Hisuian Goodra, is the ultimate unkillable Pokemon. I wish its typing was better, but Terrestrialization exists. You can run Terra Steel or Terra Poison to give it a good defensive typing. Because Ground and Dark is not a very good defensive typing, honestly. It's better, don't get me wrong, it's better than the likes of typings like Grass Dark defensively, but it's still kind of defensively. It has a decent amount of resistances and immunities, so don't get me wrong, but it's also got a lot of weaknesses. But for Ting Lewis, that high-ass HP stat of 155 initially was going to have 165 HP, just to make it even tankier. And slightly higher defense, too. But in exchange, it would have had slightly lower special attack, whatever. I don't know. But base 125 defense, 155 HP. It has base 80 special defense, which might seem a little lackluster, but oh, don't be fooled. 1, Assault Vest exists. Let's remember that. 2, its ability, Vessels of Ruin, lowering every surrounding Pokemon's special attack stat by 25%. Pair that with Assault Vest and max strain and other defense or special defense, and give it like a partner with Life Dew, it will never die. This thing will not fucking die. And if you run to a Grass type, a Fairy type, Ice type, whatever, Terra Steel, Terra Poison, I think Terra Poison is more accurate, honestly, because if you go Terra Steel, you gotta worry about pesky fighting types, which in my opinion, from my experience, is a worthwhile trade, in my opinion. But I think Terra Poison's better if you're worried about that. Otherwise, it's got a decent attack stat, too. You don't even have to train an attack. You could get Fissure, double powered, stomping tantrums, all that stuff. Now, Chi Yusuf, I used to have Goldfish back when I was in elementary school, so it gets me a small memory down memory lane there. That was improper English, but whatever. I wish it got a bit more coverage. That's one problem I have with Chi Yusuf. It gets Psychic as its other coverage move that isn't a Fire or a Dark type move. But otherwise, I wish it got more coverage. That's 1 minus points to Chi-Yu. But otherwise, doesn't really need it. Its special attack is so high at base 135, initially 145. Shenpao was originally going to have 130 attack, and Wo-Chien was originally, I think, going to have 100 defense or something, just to go back to that for a split second. So it would have hit even harder. But doesn't really need it. Doesn't need that extra 10 special attack. When its ability, lowering everyone's surrounding special defense by 25%, throw a Choice Specs or a Choice Scarf on this thing, watch it tear some, and throw it on like a Sun Team or something. Watch it tear some ass. If fucking Shen Paul could be paired with like Dragonite or Excalibur, Chi Yusuf could be paired with the likes of Flutter Mane and Iron Moth and Chandelure on Sun teams, or on like a Sun team with a special attack and Grass type, and just tear teams to absolute fucking shreds. Me personally, I like either using Terra Fire or Terra Fairy on it. Terra Fire for a power boost, and truly have it with like very strong killing fire type moves. Choice specs, Terra Fire boosted natural stab, of course, as well. Max special attack in the sun with Beads of Ruin, Heat Wave, Fire Blast, Flamethrower. You're not taking the attack. I don't care if you're a water type, rock type, drag type, you're not taking it. You're done. Say your prayers. Unless you have the ability to fucking Flash Fire, or you have a quad resistance to fire type moves like Palkia, for example. You're not taking that attack. Sorry. And throw Helping Hand in there too, why the hell not? Chi is so fucking fun to use despite its low coverage. It doesn't really need it. It also gets Nasty Plot too if you really want to use that. And I like pairing it with Focus Sash because of its lackluster HP and defense stats. Otherwise, the Treasure Ruins is such a cool thing. I just wish Wo-Chien was a little better, I guess. But otherwise, probably one of the best legendary quartets or just legendary groups we've ever gotten. Roaring Moon S tier. Y'all know how much I fucking love Salamence. I'm gonna put it... Actually, better yet, above Great Tusk. Great Tusk is one of my favorite Paradox forms. Roaring Moon is up there as well. I hate when people call it Roaring Mid because of Intimidates. Just run it with a Clear Amulet at that point if you're that worried about it. Super strong in battle. Awesome type combo in Dragon Dark, even if it's not the best type combo. Because you know what they say, do you want a Dragon type that really loses to fairies? I know, y'all know who I'm quoting there, but otherwise, I had to say it. But otherwise, super strong in battle. I love Dragon Dance. Speed boosting, attack boosting, booster energy, Terra flying immediately to do a Dragon Dance to take a ground type move, or especially a fighting type move, or even a fairy type move that you're unlikely to die to, and just tear some ass with Stab, Outrage, which is better in singles than in doubles, Dragon Claw, Crunch, Throat Chop, and Acrobatics. Bro, the only moves I don't care what anyone says. You don't need Tailwind on Roaring Moon. The only moves you need on this damn thing, Dragon Claw or Outrage, Crunch or Throat Chop, Acrobatics, and Dragon Dance. Those are the only moves you need on Roaring Moon. You will tear the game to pieces with this damn thing. And it is so, so good. Sorry if that volume went off a little bit, but it's so good in battle. The Paradox forms are honestly better than the Ultra Beasts, in my opinion, in some ways. And you already know how much I love the Ultra Beasts. But anyways, yeah. Iron Valiant, or the Jardo... Let me get to that in a second. Iron Valiant. This thing's also cool. It has a fucking lightsaber, bro. This thing's awesome. I'm gonna put it... I think above the likes of the... above Golden Go. Let's put it above Golden Go. Now, what I was about to say... Just like what I said about, like, Stone Journer in my previous tier list video... That, Stone Journer kind of looks like an Adventure Time character. Am I the one who thinks... Or how Tandem Mouse and Mousehold look like Hello Kitty characters? Am I the one who thinks Iron Valiant kind of looks like a General Grievous bodyguard? It kind of looks like that, not gonna lie, but this thing has really good coverage. This thing can be run with a decent HP stat as well, with base 74. It's a 90 defense, though it's lackluster special defense at base 60. I like running this thing. Honestly, one time back when this game first came out, I ran it with max HP, max attack, but I ran it with very little speed investment, but with a Choice Scarf. It actually put in a lot of good work. Took some hits, dished out some pretty good damage, too. If I could get Electric Terrain up, you get an attack boost to hit even harder. Plus, Fairy Fighting is a really good type combo as well, offensively. Though, be careful of pesky poison types, I mean. If you're that worried about it, it gets Psycho Cut, too. There's that. Terra Steel works well for it. You can run Terra Ground on it, too, for those pesky poison types. All of that. It gets a lot of really, really good coverage. Terra Dark's good for it, too. Just be careful of pesky fairy types. And boy, do those fake outs hit like freight trains if you can get them off. Like, I want to say that Iron Valiant is a really, really good glass cannon Pokemon. It's fast, it hits hard, you can make it faster or make it hit even harder. Gets decent boosting moves, gets a lot of coverage moves like Leaf Blade and stuff. And a lot of people say Iron Valiant's one of those Pokemon that suffers from 4 move syndrome, and yes, it does. Gets a lot of really good moves. Though, depending on what role you have for Iron Valiant, it kind of, in my opinion at least, it helps narrow down what moves you want to run on it. And it doesn't really have any problems for me, in my opinion. Plus, I love that it's a fusion of Gallade and Gardevoir. That's awesome. A little hints of Mega Gallade and Mega Gardevoir as well, too. That's cool. Moving on, Gordon and Miraidon. These two are awesome. These two are fucking awesome. Call me a little Timmy, and a lot of my tier lists I've highly rated the Boxer legendaries, but they're just so good. They're supposed to be good. They're the Pokemon that are supposed to, kind of sell off the game. I mean, they're on the front cover, for fuck's sake. And you know what the point of a front cover is? Whether it's a book, a movie, a game, or even a freaking kitchen utensil. The point of it is to make it look good to the audience. And Koraidon and Miraidon, as well as a lot of other box set legendary Pokemon like Yveltal, pull that off well, in my opinion. And that's good. That's the signs of a good box art legendary Pokemon, in my opinion. Koraidon, I think I'll put slightly lower. I think Koraidon and Miraidon are kind of like a Zacian and Zamazenta situation for me, where one's better in battle, but the other is better design-wise. Koraidon is better design-wise for me, while Miraidon is better battle-wise for me. Because of that, I'm going to put it slightly higher battle-wise. But design-wise, Koraidon can be a little bit lower. Or design-wise, Koraidon's better, but battle-wise it's a little lower. While Miraidon, not as good design-wise, but better battle-wise. I did go for Pokemon Violet because I prefer the Future of the Past plus Purple's just a better color than orange. So, in my personal opinion. So that's what made me choose Pokemon Violet. And boy, was I not disappointed. I mean, I don't think I would have been disappointed either way. But Miraidon's super strong. If what I said about Chi Yusuf was... You thought that shit was broken with, like, Sun boosted, Choice Specs boosted and all that, try Terra Electric, Natural Stab, Terra Stab. Choice Specs, Max Special Attack, Hydron Engine boosted, Electric Terrain boosted, Helping Hand boosted, Electro Drift against an Electric or Water type. Because of how that move works, you get an extra 33% power boost to it. No survivors. Whatever water or flying type was used, that thing's, like, say it hit a Palafin, for example. Bro, that thing killed like 1,000 of its ancestors. You're not taking that attack. You don't even need Electro Drift. You could use Discharge if you wanted to. Get some spread damage off. It's that good. As for Koraidon, sure, it doesn't get an extra boost to its fighting type moves like Miraidon does for electric type moves. But instead, it's like it has 3 stabs thanks to Sunny Day. And Orcal Pulse, raising its attack even further. These two are so fucking cool in battle. So good in design, so good in the story. They deserve high tier placements. They definitely got their job done, in my opinion. Walking Wake, you know how much I love this thing. I was talking, screwing up my throat, but Walking Wake, another one of my favorite Paradox forms. I'm gonna put it just slightly above the Paradox Cyclozars. And yes, like I mentioned earlier with Cyclozar, I wish you started out with Cyclozar and then later on you got Koraidon and Miraidon because your Cyclozar got Paradox Energy or something. I would have preferred that, but just wanted to mention that real quick. Anyways, Walking Wake. Okay, I gotta drink water. My throat's hurting me. Give me a sec. Hold on. Sorry about that. Anyways, like I was saying, Walking Wake, super strong in battle. I love its signature move and being the only water type move that isn't weakened by Sun. Instead, it's strengthened. So, nice little Uno reverse card against Sun teams. And I like that too. It's probably the only water type Pokemon, and I think one of the few weather-based Pokemon and Pokemon that tend to work better in weather, that can function on multiple different weather teams. On Sun or Rain, it works well in both the Sun and the Rain. I think it works slightly better in the Sun, I'd say, than in the Rain, but it works well both ways. Hell, it learns a Hurricane. I've ran Terra Flying on a Rain team before, and it worked really, really well because of that. This thing can get booster energy with anything. I prefer Life Orb personally, but Assault Vest works well with like Terra Steel or Terra Poison for it to shore up its weaknesses. It just... Walking Wake has so much going for it. It's so damn strong. I love it so fucking much. Iron Leaves. It's good in battle, yes, but type combo, Grass Psychic kind of sucks. I'll put it, honestly, just because of how kind of hard-ish it is to use, I'm going to put it in high B tier. Let's put it in high B tier. Because Virizion was always my least favorite of the Swords of Justice. And it's just, its ability Side Blade is cool. Not as strong as Hydro Steam. Hydro Steam is basically an Uno reverse card for Sun teams. If that's the case here, Side Blade is eh. I mean, I guess it's a Paradox Pokemon that could work well on different terrain teams. Psychic terrain and electric terrain. But otherwise, it could be better. Diplin. Diplin's cute. And I like that it's basically a candy/syrupy apple Pokemon. Or candied apple Pokemon, I should just say. And honestly, just like the Tatsugiri forms. I think just because I fucking love candied apples and even better caramel apples. And I think it's a really neat evolution to the Diplin line. Though it does though its evolution does later kind of make Flapple and Appleton obsolete. I hope those two get evolutions in the future. But otherwise, Diplin's just cute. And I like its signature move. Yeah, the Syrup Bomb, it actually works pretty well. And I like that it was hinted to get an evolution later on in the next DLC, which makes me think Hydrapple was supposed to exist in the Teal Mask DLC, not in the Indigo Disc DLC. Or introduced in the Teal Mask DLC. But later got pushed to the Indigo Disc DLC. That's my thing. But honestly, just because I really, really like caramel apples, and I think Diplin's cute, I'm giving it an low S here. Poltergeist. I mean, it's alright, I guess. It's just matcha tea. I want to try matcha tea one of these days, but until I know what matcha tea is like, I'll give it mid-D tier. Sinistra. Not my favorite ghost type. I do like it in battle. Hospitality is a very useful ability. One of the best trick room users. I put it mid-A tier. I think it's very good battle-wise. Hospitality is really awesome. Its signature move is very useful. One of the few non-water types to get Scald. Rage Powder is always a good move to use. It's awesome. Now here we are on the lousy 3, I mean loyal 3. Okidogi is my favorite of these 3. These 3 are kind of lackluster otherwise, but I like Okidogi. Guard Dog, again, is very good. It's a block Intimidate. It's a Toxic Chain with like Brutal Swing and Terra Dark, which is one of its best Terra types in my opinion for those pesky Psychic types. And because you might be weak to Fairy, but you're originally part Poison type, so you could scare off certain Fairy types. And I think that's pretty good. I'd probably put it... I just wish it was slightly better in battle. It's easily the best of the loyal 3. But I think I'll put it... because it's pretty fun to use too. So I'll put it like high A tier. I think it's pretty good otherwise. Monkey Dory sucks. I mean, it's a strong special attacker, but there are way, way better special attackers you could use. It gets Parting Shot, but there are better Parting Shot users. Hell, use Bombardier as a better Parting Shot user. Because of how lackluster this thing is in battle, I mean, it hits hard, I guess, but it's just got so many Pokemon that completely wall it, despite its strong special attacking capabilities and being the fastest of the loyal 3. It's just so lackluster to me. Because of its lackluster battle prowess, I mean, it's a okay monkey design, I guess. I'm going to put it high E tier. I don't dislike it enough to put it in F tier, but I wish it was better in battle. Pheasantipity is by far the weirdest of the loyal 3, in my opinion. And the reason for that being, it's got such a funny stat distribution. I think like base 9, it's got like base 75 special attack, I think? I forgot its special attack stat. It's like base 75 or 80 or some garbage. But its attack stat is higher. It likes base 91 for some reason. Even though it gets more special attack moves than physical attacks. It's got an alright defense stat of like 90, I believe. But it's got a very good special defense stat of 125. Its HP is 88, and its speed is 99. Decent speed stat, and it's kind of like, honestly, Pheasantipity is kind of like, I want to say a poor man's, what is it called, Screamtail, where it's got decent defenses and good speed stat and a lot of utility moves. It's very clearly trying to be a utility Pokemon. Technician is kind of a sucky ability for it, I'll give it that, though. But Toxic Chain, I prefer using that, because at least you can use it with, like, Icy Wind, or Heat Wave, or Dazzling Gleam, to, you know, spread poison around. It's very good for that, and it tanks a hit too, so you can even run it with, dare I say, Protect, with Toxic Chain to really whittle down your opponents. But that's kind of where its capabilities end. Otherwise, it's not doing much damage to you. Poison Fairy is a pretty decent type combo, I'd say. If Galarian Weezing is to go by. Like, it's okay in battle, but I wish it just had better offenses to really take advantage of its Toxic Chain ability. Because you can tell it's literally meant to be a utility Pokemon. And its design is okay, I guess. I'll give it that. Because of that, I will put... because it's very strong utility-wise, and it gets Tailwind too, so it can be a decent support Pokemon. I'll give it a low B tier. It could be better in battle. I wish it was better in battle, honestly. I do like its utility-based things, and it's probably the best Toxic Chain user of the loyal 3, I'd say. Thanks to its access to so many special attacking spread moves. Otherwise, I wish it was better. And it should have been Poison Flying, not Poison Fairy. I feel like that was only done just so the Zubat line could still be a unique type combo of Poison Fairy. The Ogrepons! They're all so good in battle. Ogrepon's cute as hell. I love its design. I love its story. Honestly, S tier for all 4 forms. None of these forms I particularly dislike either. I think I'll put it below the dogs. And while I do this, give my breath or my throat a small rest. The fire form is easily my favorite, though. The rock form might be my second favorite, honestly. You know what? Nah, third favorite. Because I'll go after each form. The grass form, it may be the offensively weakest of the 4 of them. Since it doesn't get the 20% power boost from the mask, it doesn't get a secondary typing, whatever, but... this thing's move pool is insane. Superpower, Horn Leech, Ivy Congeal, one of the greatest legendary signature moves ever created. Low Kick, Play Rough, which I like to use on the rock form for fighting types. Spiky Shield, Helping Hand, Follow Me, and probably one of the few Pokemon, the only Pokemon that gets Follow Me, by the way, that isn't like an unevolved Pokemon or a Pokemon with low defenses. Or like Maushold, for example. Since Maushold has like base 70 for its defenses. This one has base like 84 defense, base 96 special defense, and a decent HP stat to go with them as well, so it can take a hit or two. Making it an even better Follow Me user. The Fire form is one of my favorite because y'all know I love me some offense. The Grass form, the Teal Mask form, having good things like it can be given a Life Orb, a Choice Band, an Expert Belt to boost its offenses further, and it gives it a little more flexibility compared to the other forms. So I think it's a little more versatile in that way compared to the other forms. The Water form, definitely the best of the four of them defensively, I'd say. You Terrestrialize, you get a special defense boost. If you don't, you get Water Absorb. The other thing about Ogerpon, which is good because this balances out, you can't change its Terra type, which is really good in my opinion. But Ogerpon, Water form, probably the best form to use in a Rain team in my opinion. Same with the Grass form, though the Water form I'd argue is a bit better. Water type Ice Gajeel is very strong. The Fire type form being the best one of it offensively. Mold Breaker is always a useful ability. Now, the Rock form of Ogerpon. Y'all know the main weakness of Rock type form, most Rock type Pokemon, and Rock type moves. How a lot of them are high power but have low accuracy. If you want a Rock type Pokemon that always hits its moves and actually has decent power with it, and isn't kind of lackluster moves like Power Gem, go with Rock type Ivy Gajeel. It's really strong, and you're not going to want to click Stone Edge or Rock Wrecker ever again. Once you use base 100 power consistently hitting 100% accurate Rock type Ivy Gajeel, so it's actually really good that way. Otherwise, I really love Ogerpon, plus it's adorable as hell. A cute little girl that I just want to protect. Alright, remember what I said about Annihilate being one of the coolest, if not the coolest Crush Gen evolutions we got alongside the likes of Dusknoir? In my personal opinion, Archaeodon's up there too. And it's better, it's even slightly better than Annihilate in my opinion. But just like King Gambit, it didn't really need to exist. It didn't. Because Duraludon, just like Bisharp, was already so good, it didn't need to exist under any circumstance. But Archaeodon is so... You know, I'm going to put Archaeodon just slightly higher. I'm going to put it up here, actually. This thing is so... Actually, you know what, better yet? Sorry, Skeledirge. Archaeodon is actually my all-time, probably, favorite Gen 9 Pokemon. Well, we'll get to the rest later on in a bit. This one I think I like just a tiny bit better. But Archaeodon, so strong. Assault Vest with Terra Electric, Electro Shot, not Focus Blast, Aura Sphere or Body Press, depending on which one you want. I prefer Aura Sphere personally. Flash Cannon and Dragon Pulse. This thing is so powerful. This thing will take out whole teams by itself if it can. If you could use it correctly. I've seen people use like Terra Grass on it, or Terra Steel, or Terra Fighting. I prefer Terra Electric personally, or Terra Flying if I'm more worried about its defenses. Just being able to show up all those special attacks, being able to boost from Electro Shot, especially in the rain, probably one of the best non-grass or water type rain Pokemon, alongside Kilowattrel in my opinion. Its design is cool though, it looks like it's kind of a pain. It also kind of looks like, I think, Ernie from Sesame Street. Am I the one who kind of sees that in Archaeodon's face? I don't know, but otherwise, Archaeodon is so fucking powerful. I use this on pretty much any and every rain team I can. This thing is so strong. Terra Electric Archaeodon is also very underrated. Hydrapple. One problem with Hydrapple, it kind of makes Appletun and Flapple obsolete to the point where those two should get an evolution at some point in the future. But I'm also putting this thing in S tier. It's kind of like an even slower Alolan Exeggutor, but it's got other things going for it. Like access to Earth Power. Or Hydro Pump, moves that Alolan Exeggutor doesn't get. Even though Alolan Exeggutor gets Flamethrower to compensate, but otherwise. And certain Psychic type moves too. It's Super Sweet Syrup, as well as Sticky Hold are also abilities that it gets over Alolan Exeggutor, giving it some differences. It's super tanky, very good user of Assault Vest. Fickle Beam is an alright move, I guess. I prefer just Dragon Pulse or, Draco Meteor, or Meteor Storm as I like to call it. But I really do like it. And again, I love candied apples. I love caramel apples. That gets it bonus points. I'm going to put it in this part of the tier list. You know, better yet, I'm going to put it... I like Walking Wake more, so... We're going to change Walking Wake's placement, actually. And I'm going to put it above Excalibur. Just a little bit above. Definitely, the Dragon types in this generation are absolute fire, dude. Like, this generation introduced so many cool Dragon types. But otherwise, Hydrapple is so strong. I love its move pool. I love its design. I love its concept. The only negative points to it, I'd say, is it just makes Appletun and Flapple obsolete. That's all. Remember what I said about Arcaldon being my favorite Pokemon this generation? Yeah, I lied. It's Gouging Fire. If y'all know me, Entei's my favorite of the legendary beasts. And so because of that, Gouging Fire is my favorite of the legends before time. And if you're curious, the Swords of Justice are the lightsabers of the lightsabers of justice. If you're curious, get it? Land Before Time, Star Wars, a movie that takes place in the past and a movie that takes place in the future. Whatever, you get the point. This thing is so strong. You do not know pain until you take a +1 Flare Blitz from Dragon Dance, Natural Stab, Terra Stab, Max Attack, Photosynthesis, Attack Boosted, Sun Boosted, or either Choice Band, Life Orb, or even you don't even need those items on this thing. And Helping Hand. That thing, I remember one-shotting a Kyogre from full HP with this thing. That was so fun. I've one-shotted Miraidons with this thing. I've one-shotted Koraidons with this thing. I've one-shotted Kyogres like I just mentioned. I've one-shotted Palafins with this thing. It is so fucking strong. And plus, it gets a really good defensive signature move. Honestly, in Bouldering Bulwark, honestly, y'all know how much I hate Protect. Burning Bulwark is one of the few Protect variants I'm actually okay with. Just because I love that it can burn things and there's a little more counterplay with it where it doesn't block things like Thunder Wave. So in my opinion, that makes it a little better for me. But it's one of the few times I'd actually consider ever using a Protect-based move. Because of that, and again, just being my favorite of the, being based on my favorite of the Legendary Beasts and my favorite of the past Paradox Beasts, Gouging Fire gets up there. One small thing about Gouging Fire, though, I remember when I first saw it in a trade when I was trying to get it when the Indigo Disc DLC first came out last year, again at the time of me recording this video, I laughed out loud. I didn't get to record this reaction, but I was like, bro, that thing has a pineapple on its head. I know it's based on one of those Aztec headdresses, but it's so funny. It looks like it has a pineapple on its head. And maybe that just makes me like it even more, but honestly, I fucking love Gouging Fire. Raging Bolt! Also super cool. Very good in battle. Aside from the long neck jokes, I guess. Very good in battle. Very powerful. Raikou was always really cool, though. Probably my least favorite of the Legendary Beast and my least favorite of the Legends Before Time, I guess. But it's still cool. Thunderclap is an awesome ability. It gets some decent coverage moves like Solar Beam, which I like running with Terra Grass on Sun teams. Awesome Trick Room Pokemon, though I wish it was a little slower for it. It's got basically 75 speed. It can still run decently at Trick Room from my experience, though, I think. But yeah. Assault Vest is also one of the best items to use on it with a little defense investment. It learns Parabolic Charge. This thing is strong. For some reason, it's the only Pokemon to get Rising Voltage as well. I don't get why, when you'd rather use it on Sun teams and not Electric Terrain teams, but whatever. Iron Boulder. It's kind of hard to use because of its myriad of weaknesses as a Rock Psychic type. I still like it, though. I still really like it, though. The reason being, again, y'all know how much I hate moves like Protect. Its signature move, Mighty Cleave, plus a very cool name, definitely deals with that annoyance. So, I'm a big fan of that, personally. So, it gets plus points for that. It's my second favorite of the Swords of Justice. My first favorite being Keldeo, which begs the question. I guess it makes sense why we didn't get a future Keldeo form, because I guess because of that, we should have gotten a past Ho-Oh form, since Ho-Oh is the master of the Legendary Beasts. And by that extension, Keldeo is the kind of fourth quartet member, or the add-on of the Swords of Justice. So, in my opinion, we should have gotten a past form of Ho-Oh that was like Fire, Ground, or Flying Dragon, maybe, to go with the past Beast form. Whereas for the future forms, we should have gotten a future Keldeo form that was Water Psychic. I don't know. Raging Rainbow, maybe not Raging Rainbow. Feral Rainbow and Iron Aqua or something. Something like that. Yeah, I think that would be good. Iron Aqua or something. Or Iron River, maybe. I don't know. Those would have been the names of those. I think that's what we should have gotten. But anyways, I fucking love Iron Boulder. That was a little hard to use because of its myriad of weaknesses. It's susceptible to a fuck ton of priority moves. Shadow Sneak, Jet Punch / Aqua Jet, Grassy Glide. There aren't any ground type priority moves, right? No. Sucker Punch. It's got a weakness, Mach Punch, because it's a rock type, or it's a psychic type that doesn't resist. What am I call it? That doesn't resist fighting type moves, so it kind of suffers from that a little too. But different Terra types like Terra Flying work on it. Terra Ground's good. Terra Terra Water's alright with it too, I guess, if you're not worried about pesky ground types, but yeah. I fucking love this thing. Same Iron Crown. So good. A little lower. I think I like it just a bit more than Raging Bolt. And my reasoning for it being, back in Regulation F, I used this thing on a Psy Spam team alongside a certain Pokemon I'm allergic to, I can't say its name, Indeedee Female, and Landorus, either that or Chiusif. It's so powerful. And I think my 6 Pokemon were superior. I think I should have used Whimsicott for, like, for speed control instead. But otherwise, so freaking, like, the core of the Pokemon I'm allergic to, Iron Crown with Focus Blast, which now looking back, I had it with Terra Fighting. I'm thinking I should have run Terra Terra Blast instead of Focus Blast instead for Incineroars and shit, but otherwise, yeah, pretty good. Expanding Force, Calm Mind if I can get that off. If I need to take a water type hit, well, nothing. Well, I could go into Whimsicott or Superior, which is the grass type I used on that team, which still put in some work. If I really wanted to, after I get the Psychic Terrain up, I could just go into Chiusif to lower the opponent's special defense and just blow them away with Expanding Force, which was already really powerful. Any Steel types that might get in the way, Terra Fighting, boosted Terra Blast or Focus Blast. Chiusif could do it. That team was killer. That core alone, with the Pokemon I was allergic to, Indeedee Female, Iron Crown, or either Chiusif or Landorus, will take out so many teams. It took me a while to lose with that team, and honestly I have some fond memories of it because of that. So, that's why it's getting such a high tier placement. As well as its coverage moves, it's another one of those Pokemon that benefits from a lot of signature moves. Terra Fighting, Terra Dark, Terra Water, Terra Steel, whatever. But anyways, Iron Crown is super cool. Yeah, baby Terapagos. I'm going to put this thing, just because of how darn cute it is, I'm going to put it... I'll put it above Golden Guy. I just like how cute it is. I think the only reason why it has this form for 2 reasons. 1, to sell merch, we all know that. And 2, just for the anime. The new Pokemon anime. That's pretty much the only reason why Terapagos has a baby form that it can't even use in battle. But otherwise. Normal form Terapagos. I like its ability essentially kind of being a multi-scale, but in some ways, it's even better than multi-scale. Because you just take half damage from moves with Dragonite, or with any Pokemon that has multi-scale, Dragonite or Lugia. Which I'm going to put this, and maybe B tier. Not my favorite turtle Pokemon, but because of how I do like its ability, though. It's better than multi-scale in some ways, because you should resist the Pokemon attack for the turn, so in a way you have no weaknesses until you lose your amount of HP. There are ways around that, like Stealth Rocks, flinch moves like Fake Out, Poison, whatever. And if you can predict somebody to Terrasilize, then you can just go straight for the fighting type move like Close Combat and kill them. That's how I've dealt with Terapagoses in the past. But otherwise, yeah. Terapagos is okay. And you know what, if I had a nickel for each time there was a legendary Pokemon or a normal type legendary Pokemon that had the power of every single type at its disposal, I'd have 3 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that happened thrice. Anyways, I think it's alright. I think it's pretty cool. Alright, 2 more to go, because these guys we're going to save for a regional variants tier list. Terraform Terapagos. I like the little... The planet-sized... Well, I wish it was planet-sized. I like the little turtle Terapagos on top of it. I think that's cool. Its signature move is awesome. It's super tanky. It's kind of like 100 form Zygarde, in my opinion. It's very similar to that, but some differences. It's kind of like Rayquaza in some ways, too. It's pretty much the culmination of previous trio legendary, like a Rayquaza and Zygarde, where it can stop the abilities of both Koraidon and Miraidon, just like how Zygarde could do that with Xerneas and Yveltal. It's super tanky, getting much higher HP. Its signature move is absolutely busted. Though a lot of people say it's stronger as a single target move than as a spread move. Now in exchange, you can have an easy counter to Terra types that might be annoying you in some way. Like a pesky Golden Go, for example, at Terra Water. Hey, just use Terra Starstorm on that and one-shot it. I don't like it as much as Ogerpon, so I'm going to put it, or any of these other ones, I'm going to put it in low S tier. I do like using it in battle, especially with Power Herb. But significantly minus points, because when the DLCs were first hinted at, with that picture we see in the Indigo book, or was it the Scarlet and Violet book, whatever, I initially thought Terapagos' true form was going to be like planet-sized, or at least the size of the region of Paldea, because if you look closely, the map of Paldea looks like a turtle, which would have been really cool if Terapagos was like the entire Paldea region, but then, kind of like with Arceus, it can kind of give you a shard of its power, so you get it in a much smaller form, so you know you can travel with it, it's in its Pokeball, whatever. That's how I wish Terapagos was really like, while its real physical form is still the region itself. That would have been awesome, but instead, we just got a little turtle guy, and presumably the only Terapagos in all of existence, because all the other ones likely went extinct, and died off and stuff. Explains why we only have a male Terapagos. But yes. If you knew, fun fact actually, female Terapagos is unused because Terapagos is programmed to have a gender ratio of 50% male, 50% female. So the one Terapagos in all of existence in the Paldea region, at least several later regions decided to give us access to it, is male. So yeah, so they all went extinct or whatever the story is. That's what I mean by that. But anyways, Terapagos is really cool, really fun to use in battle. It gets a lot of coverage moves like Dazzling Gleam, Water Pulse, Earth Power, Meteor Beam, which is my favorite way to use it with Power Herb, etc., etc. It's really good. And because of normal Terapagos' signature ability, it works well with it. And finally, Pecharunt. In my opinion, Pecharunt should have had other versions of it, like Lost Runt, Cheery Runt, Leper-Runt, Chester Runt, and Espia Runt for the different status effects and whatnot. And you could have had a Puppeteer version for all of those as well, like Paralyze and Confusion, instead of just Poison Confusion. Burn and Confusion, because of all the status effects they've chosen, they kind of went with the worst one here. I mean, hey, it's the first Poison Ghost type since the Gengar line, so that's pretty cool. Makes me wonder why they didn't just make Fizzindipity Flying Poison then. Would have been the first Flying Poison type since the Zubat line, but whatever. I love its signature move, Malignant Chain. Very busted move. High chance to poison your foe, and once you poison them, you also confuse them as well. And if you want to just go for the straight poison, you already do Toxic. Probably the best Venoshock user plus Hex user. I love using either Terra Poison or Terra Ghost sets with that. Terra Dark works well with Foul Play, with max, where you're max trainer with HP and special defense, because it already such a naturally high defense stat. If it got Body Press, I could see Terra Fighting be really good for it as well. But alas, it doesn't. Just be careful of those pesky Psychic types. But Pecharunt, I think, is tanky, or decent enough stats that it can handle that. Plus, it's part Ghost type, so you can already scare away those pesky, Psychic types. But otherwise, and I do like that, unlike previous mythical Pokemon, this is the first mythical Pokemon we've had that actually had a story with it since the mythical events we used to get back in the Generation 4 games. Actually, no, that's not true. This is the first time we ever gotten, like, an event like this since the Victini event, the Liberty Guardian Victini event, back when Pokemon Black and White first came out in 2011. For that. So this is the first time we ever got that, because ever since that, between Black and White 2 and before Generation 9, pretty much the only times we've ever gotten that, oh, here's a new mythical Pokemon, hey, let's give it to you via mystery gift. That's not lackluster at all. You just hand us a mythical Pokemon? Why? I'm glad that Pecharunt and hopefully future mythical Pokemon that we get finally break that mold. Or at least with Zarude back in Generation 8. Maybe we should have went to some secluded jungle area in the Isle of Armor, maybe. For that. But no, instead we just get handed it. Cool. In this case, I'm glad Pecharunt finally broke that mold. And because of that, I'm going to put Pecharunt just below Okidogi. I still prefer Okidogi a bit more. Pecharunt's fun to use. It's pretty fun to battle against as well. It's got a lot of good strats. It's got a new design. It has a really good story behind it. That's also pretty goofy. Basically, Pokemon's version of Michael Jackson's Thriller, which is pretty funny in my opinion, but whatever. Or that one episode of Amazing World of Gumball with the little rainbow virus. That's what that reminds me of. But yeah. Anyways, and there you have it. Aside from these guys over here, which I'll rank these in the regional variants tier list, which will come later when we hit our next subscriber goal. Once again, thank you all for helping me reach 750 subs. Tune in next time for when we will do the Mega Evolution tier list for when we hit 800 subs. Anyways, if y'all enjoyed this and you want to see more, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And answer the question of the day, if you have the time and you'd like to, what are your opinions on this list? And if you want to, rank every single Generation 9 Pokemon in their different forms on your own little separate tier list. Alright, thank you all for watching. See you at 800 subs and have a perfect day. Once again, thank you for 750.